Hey, tea sippers. Hey, tea sippers. What you doing? Hey, tea sippers.
This is not cool. We're with you, Suji. Like, yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to see it. So you have to tell me right now, and I'm recording this whole shit. FYI, tell me what the you're talking about.
Baby, if it
Because
ain't
this
one
is
thing,
not
it's
cool. We're not
another.
playing. I'm not playing with you, Suji. Like, you saw some. Yes, you're my brother. Be my brother and tell me what you saw.
Oh, her brother saw it.
You're gonna be able to find it. So you have to tell me right now. Shit, FYI, tell
Everybody
me what
was
the
taking
you're
advantage of
talking
her.
about. Because
Wasn't
this
it?
is not cool. We're not playing. I'm not playing with you, Suji. Like, you saw some. Yes, you're my brother. Be my brother and tell me what you saw.
Ooh.
You're gonna be able to find it.
I mean,
So
just
you
a
have to
whole
tell
nightmare, wasn't
me
it?
right now, and I'm recording this whole shit. FYI, tell me what the you're talking
Hey,
about.
Keisha.
Because this is not cool. We're not playing. I'm not playing with you, Suji. Like, you saw some. Yes, you're
What
my
it
brother.
do?
Be my
What
brother and
it
tell me what you
do? It's
saw.
just always something going
You're gonna be able to
on.
find it. So you have to tell me
Y'all
right
come on
now,
in.
and
Come
I'm
on in
recording this
and
whole
hit the
shit.
like button.
FYI, tell me what the you're talking about. Because this is not cool. We're not playing. I'm not playing with you, Suji. Like,
I
you
don't
saw
know
some.
if
Yes,
Diddy.
you're my
I know
brother.
he know how
Be my
much
brother
trouble
and tell me what
he
you
in.
saw.
I know he know how much
You're
trouble
gonna be able to
he in.
find
He
it.
gotta know.
So you have to tell me
But
right now,
we
and
gotta
I'm
go.
recording this whole shit. FYI, tell me what the
And it's blowing
you're
my
talking
mind, y'all,
about.
that people are talking about, oh, this the real Cassie. No, it's just somebody who was being extorted again by somebody on the streets who did not, and she did not know that she had been secretly recorded. So she just popping off saying anything. Oh, she said that she was going to kill him. Yeah, and then she turned around and said, "Oh, and when after I do it, then he's going to do it too." How you? So ain't no way you could have thought she was serious. She said, "I'm gonna do it first, and then he's going to do it." Oh, okay. Hey, Triple Darkness. We are at war officially. What you talking about? Hmm. Diddy in trouble officially. You know what I mean?
It's not cool. We're not playing. I'm not playing with you, Suji. Like, you saw some. Yes,
Oh,
you're my
Diddy.
brother. Be my brother and tell me what you saw.
Mm, 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 mm.
You're gonna be able to find it. So you have to
Hey.
tell me right now, and I'm recording this whole shit. FYI, tell me what the you're talking about. Because this is not cool. We're not playing. I'm not playing with you, Suji. Like, you saw some. Yes, you're my brother. Be my brother and. Yeah, you don't have to see it, but it's my life, and I'll kill you. No, I will kill you if you don't show me right now. I will kill you.
Mm. Y'all, Diddy going to prison. Y'all really believe people still believe that he gonna get off? Like, no charge? Uh, Hold on.
When I talk, I want the same respect. Now, what I told you was, and what you didn't hear. It's a natural reaction. They start mixing the facts in. They put their story with your story.
I'm trying to hear this long time ago.
Fellas from buddies, women. It's a trait that's passed down from old heads right down to they children.
Hold on. The old
The
Gene
Gene
Deal
Deal
show.
Show. Cooking and conversation.
And Mase called in. This a long time ago.
Hello?
Let's check this out.
Hello? Yeah, who this? Yeah, who this? All right. Is he? Yeah, this he. What's up?
Don't wear these.
They got into it. I'm trying to check this out while people come in. Give them an opportunity to come in.
Yo, Jen, what's good? This Mace. Mace, what's going on, Playboy? Good, man. I wanted to talk to you, man, because number one. You want me to put you on the show or what? I mean, you can. You can. You on the show right now? Yeah, I'm on my show right now, Mace. Yeah, I don't mind. I just like, Jane, I know you. So, I mean, the first thing, I think, when you be saying stuff, I think you need to be more truthful, man, because you were there and you saw some things, but it seemed like you doing stuff for ratings and instead of just being real. If you're going to tell people the truth, don't blemish my name and try to make your show look better. Tell the absolute truth, man. How do I blemish your name, man? I know, but you keep saying stuff like me and Diddy, like, you know I'm a real man. Like, why you guys looking at me funny about what you're saying, bro? How I got somebody, hold up. How do I have somebody looking at you funny, Mace? I mean, just straight up, because you know, like, you saying funny stuff about religion and all that, like me and him saying, like, yo, you know, I don't even play like that, bro. Bro, let me tell you something. Like, did I say you and him was praying together? Real one. Go ahead. I'm gonna let you talk. I know you to be a real one. I know you to be a real one. Go ahead. I know you to be an upstanding guy. So I'm not expecting no funny business from you. Like, even in your show, you said some stuff about you and Puff was taking a picture when his dude shot Big before he even got killed. But you never really addressed that. So if you don't start addressing stuff, bro, address the real stuff, man. Don't be playing around, because this is not a game. This is
A lot of Diddy's past is coming up.
Really willing to say something or to do something about it.
A lot of people who know some stuff.
So you saying, Mace? Hold up.
Let's just listen.
You saying that you know who I am. You know you. Go ahead. I'm saying in your video, it's in your video where you said you took a picture with a nigga who shot Big. That's crazy. Bruh. You said took a picture with him. Bruh. You're not listening. Bruh, listen here. Mace, when you talk, I don't say a thing. When I talk, I want the same respect. Now, what I told you was, and what you didn't hear, was they showed me a picture of me, Puff, and the nigga who killed, that Lil C said killed Big. The FBI said they saw the picture too. When they showed me the picture, they had the face blurred out. I didn't say I took a picture. I said the FBI. Yo, bro, I said the LAPD showed me a picture of me, Puff, and the nigga who shot
Tracy.
Big.
Please come in, everybody. Hitting the like button.
Why would you, Puff and Big? Why would you and Puff be taking a picture?
Thank you in advance.
That don't make no sense. Because they showed me the picture. I don't know who took the picture. What do you mean? The nigga walked up the Puff car first. And I think...
Hi, Lamar.
Puff was in the car. I was standing on the outside.
Double tap your screen of your phone so the lights can go up, please.
What are you talking about? So if you want to say something, Mace, tell us why you didn't go. Mace, why you didn't go to the party? Mace, why you didn't go to the party? Because I was in a hotel with Brandy. Why you didn't go? Brandy told you, you told me that Brandy told you, let's go to the party. Why you didn't go to the party? I didn't go to the party because all y'all seem like snakes. And I'm not going to... So, Mace, who told you? Mace, didn't I tell you? Listen here, Mace. Did I tell... Let's keep it 100. When you was riding around...
Hello, DJ M. Mokito.
Let me answer the question. You guys was the
When you was riding around Cali with Stevie J, didn't I pull you to the side and say, what the fuck is you doing in a drop-top Benz riding around with Stevie J around Cali? Did I say that to you? Mase. Did I say that to you, Mase? That's some sucker. You hear what he just said? You don't want to know the truth. That was your man, Mase. Mase, you want to feel a certain kind of way, brother? You tell the truth. That ain't the only reason why you didn't go. You was in the room with Brandy.
This was 5 years ago, y'all.
He talking about nobody shot back. He know me and Tone ran after them cats. He knew we blew the light. He know I told him, why you running around here with Stevie J? See, I'm gonna get in his ass. Talking about he don't play something. Bro, I don't mind coming out of retirement. And none of them fuck with me either. Hello?
Please leave your message for Chase.
Yeah, call back. He don't want to hear it. But let me just tell you something, Mr. Mase. I don't do nothing for ratings. I don't give a shit about this. You talking about you're the only one that's willing to say something. Man, you just not coming out against Cat. I started this years ago, in 97. I was the first one to go on MTV. In 97, when Nick Bloomfield and Miss Wallace them came to ask me to do that, I was the first one spoke up. None of y'all spoke up. Y'all steady running around this cat. I was the one. You know the money I was making in the street. You know I was with the 112th Street posse, Slick and the Family, same game. I don't know what that was about. But you know, Mase, I was right there. By one of the biggest rappers. You right. I told them before they even left the house. I was the only one. All the security was snake. I told you, Mase. You know why you ain't come. You couldn't answer that question. Mase, why you didn't come? Oh, I was in the hotel with Brandy. You told me Brandy was begging you to come. You forgot that, huh? I didn't. She stopped you from coming to the biggest party out there in Soul Train. You ain't tell people about the fact that Friday you went to the game and they told you. Come on, man. If you gonna call and be a man, man up, dog. I'm right here. And yes, my title said, Mase said, he ain't playing with Diddy for his publisher. Man, you take that any kind of way you want to take it, brother. You take that any kind of way you want to take it. if a brick hit you, say ouch.
A whole bunch of stuff is going to eventually come out.
Like, we had a room for him in the way. Let's get back to this, man, because he called in for a minute. You know what I'm saying, with that bullshit. I don't never want to know how real it is. Come on, some YouTube show. Now, y'all ask for Mase? There you go. He gonna stay. He don't want. He told me he want to get down to the business, and he gonna talk about all the security with snakes. Get the hell out of here.
It's time to finally.
No, that wasn't no troll, brother. That was Mase. I know Mase's voice.
Hi, Lucille. Hi. Seaboard Records. John K.
And the
Hunter.
reason I know that was no troll because he didn't call me. He called me on my private phone. You understand what I'm saying? He called me on my private phone. And the only way he could have got that number was MREC. Get it? I got two phones. He called me on my private phone. No, he ain't gonna call on the show. I ain't got no rap for him. It's whatever, whatever.
I was just looking at what's down here? Hey John, hey Miss Pretty Lady.
Yeah, but listen here, man. I gotta go, man. I got a phone call that I gotta be right back. All right? So listen here. This has been Big Gene from Raw Deal, the last big night. One, if they don't fuck with you, I'm gonna be.
Can y'all please double?
Yeah, it's crazy, man. I know Mase
Double
spoke
hit.
out about Diddy House.
Double tap your phone, please, so that I won't have to keep stopping. 130 plus people in here, and y'all didn't double tap your screen or didn't hit the like button. So please do.
Getting rated. If you can, right, because he got the show with Cam, and a lot of people, they don't know about the history between Mase and Diddy. Let the people know how Diddy did him dirty, if you don't mind.
From what I know, I think that Diddy wasn't teaching Mase the business. You understand? He was using Mase as other artists to write rhymes on other people, write songs on other people.
Everything is about Diddy using.
And taking their talents and stealing their publishing on different albums and different records. Prime example, Mase wrote that Bad Boy joint. I ain't even see him at the premiere because I believe Diddy owned most of the publishing on that, which ended up being a big
Hi, Clara.
record that went over to movies. I think Mase was upset the fact that when he learned the business, he saw how Diddy had robbed him. He had took the glory for the albums, the music, and all the records that he had did. And he got pennies for it. You understand? 8,000 here, 10,000 there. You understand? When the record go platinum. Diddy's getting 200,000-300,000 and only gave him pennies for writing a song. Getting points on publishing that he didn't even deserve.
This karma's hell, ain't it? It's finna eat his ass up.
And knowing the business, it led him to be upset. Diddy was teaching him wrong. Like, Diddy was teaching him not to even speak to people, brother. You understand what I'm saying? Nate used to come up in there, yo, what's up, how you doing? He had that Harlem smile. You know what I mean? Like, he happy, he's shining. Because, you know, he had a lot of jewels that the other artists didn't have. He used to come up in the studios, he used to come places fly. Did he tell him, yo, you ain't gonna never be famous because you always speaking to people. Let them speak to you. I seen Mase stop speaking to people. When I told him, man, don't listen to that nigga with that old dumb shit. Be you. But he found out after Big died and Puff left his ass out in California, he knew only Puff was for self.
Oh, so he left Mase.
Mase them
wow.
didn't have what these kids have now with the internet, with the YouTubes, to learn the business themselves or listen to somebody teach them the business and stuff to watch out for. It was word of mouth or somebody sitting you down or you hiring a lawyer back then to teach you what you're supposed to know by representing you. So Mase has every right to be upset with Diddy because Diddy really stole his legacy in the music. See, what you gotta understand this is that a lot of those kids learned the business after they signed their contracts. They learned the business after they was in the business for 3 or 4 years. So now, when they learned the business and they was doing, sitting there right there, writing a whole record, a whole song, right? And Diddy was like, yeah. Here, take this, take that. Give them 10,000 for that one song that they wrote. And that song goes platinum 2 or 3 times. And he gets the 25% for being the writer on that because they wrote the song and gave it to him. And he's on as the publisher, as the writer. You understand what I'm saying? He's getting a percentage of the writing that was done, and all he gave was 10,000. They learned they learned later in the business that they was do that publishing. He shouldn't have got the percentage that he got on that. Because he gave them 10,000.
He stole from
5,
everybody.
8,000 for writing. So now they learned the business late. And when they learned the business, they seen how wrong that he was doing it. Even though the music people want you to say, well, we're taking a chance. We're taking a thing. Yo, listen to me, man. You wouldn't be there if you think that you wasn't talented and they could sell records off you and using your talents. They've seen enough people to come through. So you writing all those hits and you not getting the money from it. How many years Mase didn't get the money from Bad Boy that they used on Will Smith and them Bad Boys? I went to the premiere with Puff. Mase wasn't even there. But he wrote that.
Do Will Smith know he wrote it? Hold on. There's more. Let's go over here. Let's see. Hey to everybody coming in that I have not been able to speak to. Hey, please hit the like button. The like button, which is the thumbs up indicator. Or if you're on your cell phone, please double tap your screen. Respect the platform. Support the platform. Like, share, subscribe. Join the membership. The tea is hot, baby. We going somewhere with it. Okay? Okay. Why they not talking about Kim Porter? Why they not? Oh, it's a bunch they not talking about. But I'm sure it'll come up later in that state, you know, the different states. I'll be sure Mom passed away, so he pumped his brakes a little bit, but I'm sure he coming back. Let's go.
Mase, I know you had an issue with some comments he made to you a while back, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think he made a comment to you asking you why you didn't, shoot Biggie's killer.
Bruh, me and Mase had conversations before Big got killed. Me and Mase had a conversation after Big got killed. I told Mase the whole story. I helped Mase on 2 occasions in California. When he was trapped off in the club and when he was trapped off in the hotel. You understand me? Mase knew what he was doing. He was trying to divert what really happened because I had made a statement is that why he told Puff what those guys from California told him about wanting to kill Big and wanting to get at Puff over that incident that happened at their video shoot in New York when their Vans and Winnebagos was shot up. Why didn't he tell Big? So he was trying to divert that whole conversation and make it seem like, so, Gene, why
y'all didn't say we at war?
Listen to me. It wasn't because Big wasn't my principal. He knew the
U.S.
fact
has
that
bombed
we had
3
blown the
Iranian
lights,
nuclear sites.
and we was halfway down the block, crossed the light, and then when the first shot went off, our driver took straight off. I'm screaming at our driver because he was told that somebody was pointing a gun at Big and them. He should have just threw the car in reverse. He knew the whole story, my man. Prior to him even coming back to New York. Because me and him had a conversation on the phone. He the one told me, well, I was in the room with Brandy and Brandy was trying to get me out the room to come to the party. So I felt that was kind of weird. So she said Brandy was calling me trying to get me out the room to come to the party. Well, if you was in the room with Brandy, how's she calling you to try to get you out the room to come to the party? You know what I'm saying? This was going through my mind. But Mase knew the whole situation. Mase knew that it's no way possible that I was able, being sideways in the car, because Puff, when I got in the car, Puff had put his seat back. Now I'm sideways in the car like this, and I'm cussing him out like, yo, man, what the fuck is you doing? Why you got your seat back like this? We heard a shot. Bow. Puff put his head down. I go to open the door. Kitty flies, going straight. You understand? So he knew the whole story. What I supposed to do? Put my...
Say that again.
He knew the whole story, my man. Prior to him even coming back to New York. Because me and him had a conversation on the phone. He the one told me, well, I was in the room with Brandy and Brandy was trying to get me out the room to come to the party. So I felt that was kind of weird. So she said Brandy was calling me trying to get me out the room to come to the party. Well, you was in the room with Brandy. How's she calling you to try to get you out the room to come to the party? You know what I'm saying? This was going through my mind. But Mase knew the whole situation. Mase knew that it's no way possible that I was able, being sideways in the car, because when I got in the car, Puff had put his seat back. Now I'm sideways in the car like this, and I'm cussing him out like, yo, man, what the fuck is you doing? Why you got your seat back like this? We hear the shot. Bow! Puff put his head down. I go to open the door. Kitty flies, going straight. You understand? So he knew the whole story. What I supposed to do? Put my gun out the window and just start shooting? Like this? When the car had already turned the corner? It came out of parking space. So he knew the story, bruh. He was trying to just divert the attention of, well, why security? So ask security. Ask big security. Ask Paul. Ask the LAPD. The LAPD officer that was right there. They was right behind. Paul was outside the car. Why didn't they shoot? Why when we turn back around and come down the street, that they way down the block, they coming back when we get back to the car? When we get back to the car, nobody's in Big's car but Big. Mase knew this. Me and Mase had this conversation. Him and Tone is like this. He knew me and Tone jumped in the car and chased after the guy. We couldn't catch him. He wanted to divert the attention from himself because why didn't you tell Big that these dudes was trying to get at you, bruh? You had that conversation with with Puff, but you ain't had that conversation with Big. Big was your label mate. So people come on and talk, why you ain't shoot? Listen to me, bro. At that time, I was young, dumb, and full of cum. Anybody who really knows me know that they ain't got to worry about nothing if it comes to the point where gunplay has to be a part of my security. I'm not going to hesitate. Because I never bodyguard anybody that I wasn't willing to lay down my life for. And that goes for Puff or anybody else I ever was with. Chaz, K. Slade, Scott Storch, Fat Joe, 50, Nate Dogg, Exhibit. Anybody I decide to take a job and bodyguard for, at that time in my life, I wouldn't have had a problem.
Okay. Hold on. I'm going from here. I saw something else. Hold on. All this stuff gonna come out. Might as well come on. Let's hear some of this stuff now. I just saw something I wanted to hear. Oh, wait. Okay, let's hear this. Hey, Key. That is all said.
I just want to go home. I just want to be home. What do? You're a security crime behind the bar. I just want my blanket. I just want your blanket. You gotta get out of here. I didn't sing too much. Just can't tell me nothing. That's why when he's talking tough, I said, man, just say it. I've seen all that. Nigga said he wanna just go home.
Oh,
And be in his blanket. It's like, what?
But he there for security.
You're never gonna be in this position.
Are they laughing at him?
I just want to be under my blanket. Oh, we gotta get out of here. God, you get me out of here. I'm never fooling with you.
In a recent podcast, Mase and Cameron burst out laughing while clowning Gene Deal over the night the Notorious B.I.G. got shot. They couldn't stop laughing about how Gene Deal, Diddy's bodyguard, didn't fire a single shot the night Biggie got shot.
I'm trying to picture your facial reaction. So I just want to go. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
If my security called me down in Cali, and somebody, the #1 rapper in the world can kill you, somebody just telling you, I just need to want to go home. And the second top artist in the world, which is Mase, about to be #1. That's what I'm saying. I wanted his face because I'm like, if y'all let me do that to Big, I'll stand a chance.
The moment went viral instantly, and Gene Deal wasn't about to stay silent. After catching wind of the jokes, he shot back at Mase with a fierce warning. If he's got something to say, he better be a man with the motherfucking nuts. The tension just turned up another notch.
Say if you gonna say something, be man of motherfucking nuts. The name is the name. When I tell a motherfucking story, Rex, I tell it with the name. These niggas, I ain't worried about none of this, dog. Because it can happen to anybody. If they can get motherfucking Martin Luther King, if they can get the President Kennedy, they can get to anybody. It's easy to tell a motherfucker the truth than to call me a lie.
Everybody trying to go viral. Everybody trying to go viral. Everybody trying to go viral out here.
Yeah.
Trying to dodge the heat, Gene Deal also reminded everyone that Mase was laying low that night because he knew something serious was about to go down.
Because Mase want to laugh and lie about the situation, let's get into it, bro. I want to get into this. Prior to the Peterson Museum, Mase and Stevie J went to a celebrity basketball game. They let the dudes, I don't know if it was the dudes from the Dog Pound, it was the dudes that was Crip. They let Stevie J and Mase know we want Puff and we want Big. Mase felt like he was safe, laying down there, throwing up West Coast signs with them. Mase came back from that game. He let me know and he let Puff know. He never mentioned a damn thing to Big. As his label mate, as a fellow New Yorker, he had an obligation to tell Big, and he know I came and got him. And Mase said, yo, Big G, why you here? Why you here? He said, Big G, I'm all right. I said, if you was all right, why am I here?
Deal also shared a tense phone conversation with Mase, where Mase pressed him on why he didn't shoot back at Biggie's attacker. Deal shot back with his own question. Why wasn't Mase at the party that night?
If you want to say something, Mase, tell us why you didn't go. Mase, why you didn't go to the party? Mase, why you didn't go to the party?
Because I was in a hotel with Brandy.
Why you didn't go? Brandy told you, you told me that Brandy told you, let's go to the party. Why you didn't go to the party?
I didn't go to the party because all young seem like snakes. And I'm not going to...
So, Mase, who told you, Mase, didn't I tell you, listen here, Mase, did I tell, let's keep it 100. When you was riding around,
Let me answer.
Go ahead.
Let me answer the question. You guys went to security. If somebody shot the biggest rapper in the world, why y'all didn't shoot back? Y'all had time?
Mase.
Hey, Anthony. Hey, Ronnie.
I'm going to get to that. Mase, Mase, one question. When you was riding around Cali with Stevie J, didn't I pull you to the side and say, what the fuck is you doing in a drop-top Benz riding around with Stevie J around Cali. Did I say that to you? Did I say that to you, Mase? That's some
Mase recently spoke about the night the notorious B.I.G. was killed, revealing that right after the incident, he found himself surrounded by a large group of Bloods gang members. The Harlem rapper described being trapped inside his Los Angeles hotel room, while around 70 gang members waited in the hallway. He believes they were hunting for other bad boy artists, or potentially something even more dangerous.
I was actually in a hotel with a young lady.
And when you heard this information, what was your next actions?
My next actions? After what?
When you heard Biggie died, did you stay in your hotel room? Did you leave out? Did you want to go back to New York?
I actually was trapped in a hotel.
Now I want to ask a question. What do you mean
Trapped in the closet?
It was about probably like 70 or so Bloods in the hallway. I couldn't even leave my room.
How'd you get out?
One of the guys.
Why would it be 70 Bloods in your hallway after Biggie Smalls died?
Actually, after Big got killed, they was probably looking for more bad boy artists. And I couldn't even leave the room till Gene Deal, the officer had to come get me.
Ex-bodyguard Gene Deal has put forward a theory linking the notorious B.I.G.'s death to the reckless actions of Mase and Stevie J that night in Los Angeles. Deal believes the chaos stirred up by the two played a role in the tragic events, adding another complicated piece to the ongoing mystery surrounding Biggie's murder.
But you got people like Mase, Stevie J, they running around with drop-top Benzes and shit like that. You understand? People moving and they being seen. But you gotta understand, they was young kids. They young, dumb, full of cum. And go back to that old Southern saying, they don't believe fat meat's greasy, brother. You understand what I'm saying? If you know what I mean? They don't think this can happen. You know, you got cats out here that's gonna tear your head down to the white meat. And if you rolling like that, you'll find out. So even if they can't get you that night, they'll go back to the block. Yo, man, I was trying to get them out there rolling like they don't give a f. They was agitating those cats out there. Do you understand what I'm saying? They was agitating those cats out there. And then with the fact that Pac dead, Jake dead, all this other bullshit is going down, come on, man. It was reckless. It was that I don't give a f attitude. And it came out, bro. Do you understand that? They showed their ass. So who did Cali do? What did Cali do? They took the biggest thing that was back in New York, the Notorious Big. Big paid for all that shit that them was doing, going to the parties and all like that.
This heated exchange reveals the lingering doubts and unresolved tensions among those closest to the tragedy, making the full truth even harder to pin down. Gene Deal later responded to Mace's comments about why he didn't shoot back at Biggie's killer.
So he was trying to divert that whole conversation and make it seem like, so, Gene, why you didn't shoot? Listen to me. It wasn't because Big wasn't my principal. He knew the fact that we had blew the light and we was halfway down the block, crossed the light, and then when the first shot went off, our driver took straight off. I'm screaming at our driver because he was told that somebody was pointing a gun at Big Mem. He should have just threw the car in reverse. He knew the whole story, my man, because me and him had a conversation on the phone. He the one told me, well, I was in the room with Brandy, and Brandy was trying to get me out the room to come to the party. So I felt that was kind of weird. So she said Brandy was calling me trying to get me out the room to come to the party. Well, if you was in the room with Brandy, how's she calling you to try to get you out the room and come to the party? You know what I'm saying? This was going through my mind. But Mase knew the whole situation. Mase knew that it's no way possible that I was able, being sideways in the car, because Puff, when I got in the car, Puff had put his seat back. Now I'm sideways in the car like this, and I'm cussing him out like, yo, man, what the f is you doing? Why you got your seat back like this? We hear the shot, pow! Puff put his head down. I go to open the door. Kitty flies, going straight. So he knew the whole story. What I supposed to do? Put my gun out the window and just start shooting like this? When the car had already turned the corner, it came out of parking space. So he knew the story, bro. He was trying to just divert the attention of, well, why security? So ask security. Ask big security. Ask Paul. Ask the LAPD. The LAPD officer that was right there, they was right behind. Paul was outside the car. Why didn't they shoot? Why when we turn back around and come down the street, that they way down the block, they coming back when we get back to the car? When we get back to the car, nobody's in Big's car. But Big, Mace knew this. Me and Mace had this conversation. Him and Tone is like this. He knew me and Tone jumped in the car and chased after the guy. We couldn't catch him. He wanted to divert the attention from himself because why didn't you tell Big that these dudes was trying to get at you, bruh? You had that conversation with with Puff, but you ain't had that conversation with Big. Big was your label mate. So people come on to him, why you ain't shoot? Listen to me, bro. At that time, I was young, dumb, and full of cum. Anybody who really knows me know that they ain't got to worry about nothing if it comes to the point where gunplay has to be a part of my security. I'm not going to hesitate because I never bodyguard anybody that I wasn't willing to lay down my life for.
The night Biggie was taken from us remains clouded in mystery, with questions still unanswered years later. As new theories emerge and voices speak out, the full story remains just out of reach. Stay tuned. This saga is far from over.
Hold on.
The night that Biggie Small died, where were you and what did you do in the aftermath right after Biggie Small died?
Where was I? I was in a hotel.
Mace, why you ain't go to the party?
Because I was in a hotel with Brandy.
Why you didn't go? Brandy told you, you told me that Brandy told you, let's go to the party. Why you didn't go to the party?
Did I just play that one?
Mase
It just
recently
played by
opened up about
itself.
the night the notorious B.I.G. was killed, revealing he was surrounded by an army of Bloods in the immediate aftermath. The Harlem native recalled being trapped in his Los Angeles hotel room, with roughly 70 gang members gathered in the hallway outside. Mase believes they were looking for more bad boy artists to target, or worse.
I was actually in a hotel with a young lady.
And when you heard this information, what was your next actions?
My next actions? After what?
When you heard Biggie died, did you stay in your hotel room? Did you leave out? Did you want to go back to New York?
I actually was trapped in a hotel.
Okay, yeah, hold on.
What do you mean trapped?
It was about probably like 70 or so Bloods in the hallway. I couldn't even leave.
What you say? Terrible headache tonight. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh, this is what I was looking for. Dang it. Cut this,
From your, what is it? What are you doing? And don't say we can come to your office or do none of that, because we can't do none of that. We can't handle it no other way but with lawyers, and you know that, so don't get on the radio and act like a tough guy or none of that.
Argument with Diddy when Styles threw the chair at Puff. No, I mean, I ain't sure, but that was probably the last straw for that.
It's no secret that Diddy screwed over countless artists as the founder of Bad Boy Records. But did you know that the Lox were the first to publicly stand up to him and literally forced him to release them from their contract with some wild threats? After their initial success with their debut album on Bad Boy, the Lox, Styles P, KEYGLOCK, and Jadakiss quickly realized that signing with Bad Boy was a huge mistake. But unlike many other artists who just took it on the chin, these guys decided to fight back, literally. I'm talking about throwing a chair at Diddy and threatening his life on live radio. The
Say what?
Fearless, and they
did y'all know that?
To let Diddy.
When Styles threw the chair at Puff. No, I mean, I ain't sure, but that was probably the last straw for that.
It's no secret that Diddy screwed
my
over
likes up.
countless artists as the founder of Bad Boy Records. But did you know that the Lox were the first to publicly stand up to him and literally forced him to release them from their contract with some wild threats? After their initial success with their debut album on Bad Boy, the Lox, Styles P, KEYGLOCK, and Jadakiss quickly realized that signing with Bad Boy was a huge mistake. But unlike many other artists who just took it on the chin, these guys decided to fight back, literally. I'm talking about throwing a chair at Diddy and threatening his life on live radio. The Locks were absolutely fearless, and they weren't about to let Diddy screw them over without putting up a serious fight. So if you want to hear all the details about how the Locks got Diddy shaking in his boots, stick around, because I'm about to break it all down for you.
Now, man, we can't talk in this. I'm a grown-ass man, man. You're a coward. And I don't take nothing. You're a thief, you're a coward. Don't say you're a thief. Okay. You're in the office, man.
The legendary Yonkers trio, the Locks, have been in the game for decades, and they've never once pretended to be something they're not, with their hard-hitting, no-nonsense approach to their craft. Jadakiss, Styles P, and KEYGLOCK practically define the raw essence of East Coast rap. Remember when they dropped their second album and called it We Are the Streets? Honey, nobody even dared to challenge that bold claim. Now, those newer fans who were introduced to the Locks during their years with DMX and the Rough Riders crew might not be familiar with the Locks' Bad Boy era. See, before they linked arms with DMX, the Locks were under the wing of none other than Sean Diddy Combs, or as he was known back then, Puff Daddy. Just for context, the Locks first started making noise on the local scene and caught everyone's eye with the gritty demo tape produced by Jaz-O. And after that, major labels started lining up to court them. In fact, according to KEYGLOCK, they even got the attention of the biggest West Coast label at the time, Suge Knight's Death Row Records. Suge was so impressed by the Locks that he actually called Sheek's house, practically begging him to sign with Death Row.
Suge Knight on the phone, called my mom house. Suge Knight called my mom house. That's the time when like, yo, I go in my mom room, get on the phone, Kiss go in the kitchen, use that phone. And we like, yo, what? And we, you know the long cords come around looking at each other like, yo, and Suge like, yo, I need y'all to come out here, man. Hot. And yada yada. I guess, before we signed with Puff. Yeah, crazy shit. Yeah, we had some bidding, God.
But with the whole East versus West feud brewing at the time, the Warlocks weren't about to switch sides. And that's why they made their choice to sign with Bad Boy. But get this, the one and only Mary J. Blige was the mastermind behind it all. Way back in 1998, after the Locks officially signed with Bad Boy, Sheek told MTV Mary was like the #1 fan for us. She was loving our music before anybody, and she just brought us to Puff. Puff was looking for a rap group at the time. It was instant. It just clicked like that. It was chemistry. The Locks got themselves into a multi-album deal with Bad Boy, and naturally, they were over the moon. Jadakiss later spilled the tea in an interview with Revolt, saying it was a no-brainer for them. And can you blame them? They felt like they hit the jackpot being on the same team as Diddy and Biggie.
When we signed with Bad Boy, they was like the Chicago Bulls or the Lakers in the early 80s, you know what I mean? It was a no-brainer. Like they had the whole, B.I. was there. The whole world was trying to get next to B.I. He embraced us, so that was a priceless feeling. You know what I mean? Being down with Diddy, the mogul of moguls, and being with Big, the lyricist of lyricists. That's a sandwich you don't mind being, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's a sandwich you don't mind being a part of.
So within weeks of putting pen to paper, the Locks were living a lifestyle that was way beyond anything they'd ever imagined. And they later said that dealing with Diddy was like being in a non-stop celebration mode. In a 2020 interview with Revolt, the Locks were asked about their fondest memories from their Bad Boy days. And Jadakiss said some of the best parties you could ever go to. Partied like 1999. It was 1998. It was the same kind of parties the Beatles had. Styles then added beautiful people, beautiful clothes, a lot of money, a lot of ambiance, a lot of feng shui, a lot of success, a lot of abundance, bottles and glitz. And as for Sheek, he said, with Diddy, it felt like he was always celebrating something. But it wasn't all smooth sailing. And as soon as they got in, Diddy told them they had to change their name. When Jadakiss looked back on it during an interview with Hip Hop DX, he hinted that their naivety and their admiration for Diddy made them more open to the idea than they might have chosen otherwise. Just as we were about to sign, or maybe the week before we signed, he said, "Y'all the Locks, y'all figure it out, but no more Warlocks." Jadakiss said he was like MJ in his prime, so everything he said was golden. We didn't know a lot about marketing, and he said Warlocks wasn't marketable. Anyway, Diddy immediately set the Locks on a feature spree, strategically orchestrated to rocket them to stardom and build a solid fan base along the way. From blazing tracks on DJ Clue tapes to hopping on Mace's 24 Hours to Live and Mariah Carey's Honey remix, not to mention their killer collaboration on Life After Death's Last Day. The Locks' time at Bad Boy was nothing short of a gold mine. Besides that, Jadakiss crafted that iconic verse for Diddy's It's All About the Benjamins and their appearance on that track, which they they later claimed Diddy practically twisted their arms to do, officially catapulted them into the commercial spotlight, landing them at number 2 on the Billboard charts. Then in January 1998, the Lox dropped their debut album, Money, Power, and Respect. The project found huge success, going platinum with over 110,000 copies sold in the first week, and peaking at number 3 on the US Billboard 200. But here's where it gets messy. While everything seemed peachy from the outside, tensions were bubbling behind the scenes, and it didn't take long before the cracks started to show. The Lox were not happy with the path Diddy was leading them down, and in 1999, they launched their revolutionary Let the Lox Go campaign, asking Diddy to release them from their contract so they could sign with Rough Riders. Bad Boy was all about those radio-friendly dance tracks and flashy videos, and the Lox wanted to do what they knew best. Hardcore, no
Decision leaving rap. That everything now that we see playing out was all the things I escaped. The car, the shine. There's something else. He just kept trying to keep me right here, like he didn't want me to grow at anything.
Sean Diddy Combs' trial has sparked a media frenzy, but one voice remains eerily silent. His former right-hand man, Farnsworth Bentley.
And he walks in, and this particular day, I have to admit, like, I was dressed like the Black Duke of Windsor. Like, I was Merc. M-U-R-K, Merc. Merking, right? Like, full out, the watch vibe, And so he walked in, he walked straight to my table. I stood up, and it was like a little stare-down match on some,
wow.
And I won. And then he just pointed the old girl, like, yo, get this dude. It was the 2-way thing. Remember the 2-way? Anybody with me? 2-way.
Yeah, I had 2-way.
Stay with me. He's like, yo, you get this dude my 2-way number. Well, I didn't call him the next day because I'm busy.
Known for carrying Diddy's umbrella and shaping his suave image, Bentley has disappeared from the public eye. But behind the scenes, rumors swirl about secrets he might be hiding.
I guess when I moved to New York, obviously I stood out, dressing like this. In a lot of the hip-hop clubs and things. And, literally one day he came up to me. He was like, I really want you to work on my fall wardrobe. So I exchanged information with him. A very important 2-way number. And now knowing how his schedule is, it was very difficult to get with him, actually. So during his trial, I sent him a lot of, spiritual verses just to kind of support him. And then one day, I left the restaurant. I was working as a maitre d' for the Madison Park, a fantastic restaurant in New York City. And I said, you remember the guy from New York City that traveled to, you remember the guy from Howard that traveled to New York City to intern with Andre Harrell and that guy in 2001? Please, I need a job. And he said, come to 1396 3rd Avenue on his 2-way, and I literally raced to that address, and I started as assistant that day, and the rest is history.
The thing is it was how fast he disappeared.
Yes. Now he lives in Atlanta. He's married. He has 2 sons. He's living his life. I mean, but how many? Listen, y'all. If you've ever lived in Atlanta, the majority. The majority of them are bisexual and gay men. They just live their life to be married and gave their life to God, and they're your pastor.
Culture is still very, very, very heavy.
He said, and they're your pastor. Wait, what?
In Atlanta, it's funny because Atlanta's like a gay mecca. You would think that there would be no need for down low culture, but down low culture is thriving in Atlanta still.
And it's weird because you can find whatever you want in Atlanta, any kind of relationship, poly, orgies, whatever you're into, you can find somebody there that's into it. You may meet somebody and the lady's like, yeah, these are my 2 husbands.
Yeah.
So you think he was Diddy's concubine?
Absolutely. He was too complicit and he was too compliant, and he just disappeared. He disappeared faster than Mase did. When Mase ran from Diddy, you could see the trailer just fire from his footsteps as he ran to the church. But I don't understand why people don't ask why. People, he gone. Oh, okay. Nobody bothered to ask why.
Born Derek Watkins, Farnsworth wasn't just a personal assistant. He was a key part of Diddy's brand. Yet whispers suggest his role was darker, with some insiders claiming he has dirt on his hands that could unravel everything.
He was always right there, but not like at nighttime when we was doing things. He wasn't around, bro. He was only there when the cameras was there and shit like that. I don't know how much he was he could do. I don't know if he would say anything because he probably signed the ND, a non-disclosure, and he don't want to say anything against Puff anyway because Puff got shit on him. And I ain't talking about no sexual none of that shit.
Speculation grew louder when Mase and Cam hinted on their podcast that Bentley might have a secret name, like a mysterious male adult worker linked to the case. Diddy's ex-bodyguard, Gene Deal, went further, accusing Bentley of stealing, even telling a story about Jennifer Lopez's boots vanishing from Diddy's home and showing up at Bentley's apartment.
The nigga was stealing, bro. Yo, bro. The niggas I don't want to put that on sticky fingers. That Nick right there, bro, don't lay nothing down around him. You hear me? Don't lay nothing down around dude right there. Dog, Jennifer Lopez had these boots, they cost $5,000. I'm like, what kind of fucking boots cost $5,000? Now you gotta realize, this is like in 2000, early 2000. These boots cost $5,000. And because she was gonna be out of the country or something like that, she didn't have them come to her house down in the village because she would have never got it because they'd be stealing her stuff down there at her apartment. So she had them come to Puff house. She wanted these boots so bad, she was mad. They looked through everything trying to find Jennifer boots. Because Puff had like Puff, people used to just give him shit and send him shit from everywhere. So he had this room, this mail room in his house with numbers just that he never even opened. But I don't know how Farnsworth Bentley found that shit. But we went over there to his house and we found a lot of Jennifer shit and everybody else's shit that belonged to Puff.
Rumors connect Bentley to Diddy's notorious freak-off parties, where hotel rooms were prepped with baby oil and Astroglide.
But for a long time, you famously had a butler, and the guy's name, Farnsworth Bentley.
Farnsworth Bentley.
And there were these great photos that would show up in the magazines. Let's see this photo right here of Farnsworth Bentley holding an umbrella over you. Yeah. I don't think it's raining there. This was to protect you
from the sun and just in case it rained.
just in case anything happened. This guy would
Always
probably
have to be prepared.
I think he followed you around indoors with an umbrella over your head. Now what happened? He no longer works for you. Is that right?
Yeah, yes. He's an entrepreneur. He has moved on to bigger and better things.
But this raises a big question.
Yeah.
Is there an opening? Do you have a butler now?
Yes.
What are you looking for in a butler now?
I'm telling you right now, I'm actually interviewing for a butler. I'm looking for a white man. White man.
You want a white butler?
White man.
That's
white
good.
man. Equal opportunity employer.
Is there any
white
chance?
man with an accent.
Is there any chance?
Oh, wow.
Is there a knowledge he has to have an accent and like a distinguished accent?
A lot of knowledge and service and fine wines and sexy.
Okay.
And sexy.
That the 2005
Oh,
incident
wow.
where Kim Porter's nose was broken happened after she caught Diddy with another man, possibly Bentley himself.
Did you hear about the fact that he broke Kim's nose on the...
A lot of knowledge and service and
Yeah, my mouth open. Hey,
Deal also alleged that the 2005
Purple Flowers,
incident
Joyce,
where Kim Porter's
Tootsie
nose was
Roll.
broken happened after she caught
Judy.
Diddy with another man, possibly Bentley himself.
Did you hear about the fact that he broke Kim's nose on a yacht?
Wow, I ain't hear about that.
It was told by people in her camp that he broke Kim's nose on a yacht. So Cassie's story is Kim's story.
And
Cassie
she did
broke
freak
his
offs
Kim's
as
story.
well. Hold on.
Bro, when y'all look...
And she did freak offs as well. It was mentioned. And I think that was even in her book that mysteriously disappeared. Kim Confessions or whatever it was. Because I remember her mentioning it. Excuse me. And I also remember her saying that Jay-Z only did not want to do a freak off with her. He only wanted to be with Diddy. I remember that. So, yeah. And it was mentioned in the trial. We'll get to it. So not only Did he beat her? She also participated in the freak offs because I remember her. I think she said her final straw. She couldn't believe when she was pregnant. She was still expected to do freak offs. I remember that as well.
White man, equal opportunity employer.
What if, is there any
White
chance?
man with an accent.
Is there any chance?
And a lot of knowledge.
Is there a knowledge? He has to have an accent and like a
That man is
distinguished
sick.
accent.
A lot of knowledge and service and fine wines and
sexy.
Okay.
Deal also alleged that the 2005 incident where Kim Porter's nose was broken happened after she caught Diddy with another man, possibly Bentley himself.
Did you hear about the fact that he broke Kim's nose on a yacht?
Wow, I ain't hear about that.
It was told by people in her camp that he broke Kim's nose on a yacht. So Cassie's story is Kim's story. Cassie's book is Kim's book. Bro, when y'all look at this thing and saying force, y'all think that he probably threatened to beat her, threatened to do something like that. That ain't what force is. It could come from the mentality. Yo, he put her in a certain position, in a certain situation, in a certain time in her life. You understand what I'm saying? That she saw no way out other than doing what he told her to do. He had mentally controlled her. It's like a pimp. Diddy had pimp potential.
Tyler Perry.
He had her mind messed up where it controlled her.
Their relationship on MTV's Making the Band was tense, with Bentley often mistreated. Early on, he worked without pay, raising questions about how he earned his spot in Diddy's inner circle. After leaving Diddy, Bentley moved to Atlanta, married, started a family, and gained success working with Kanye West. Yet, the shadow of his past looms large. Rumors of a tell-all book surfaced in early 2024, but Bentley has stayed quiet, especially since federal raids on Diddy's properties.
Multiple safes broken into, drawers ripped open, closets ransacked, boxes of gun ammo, and Grammy Awards. New images from TMZ show inside Diddy's ransacked Beverly Hills mansion during the coast-to-coast raids where no arrests were made.
People in the home are traditionally detained during raids, so they don't flee, and so they don't destroy evidence.
The rapper's attorney calls it a witch hunt with an excessive show of force and hostility that led to a premature rush to judgment, adding Diddy will continue to fight every single day to clear his name.
Is his silence fear of exposure for theft, or something deeper linked to seized tapes?
Okay.
Bentley's story.
Oh wow, I didn't mean to do it. Okay, y'all, can y'all hit the like button for me? We gonna pause for Diddy for a minute. Because because y'all president done let off bombs. Hold on. We at war, they say. Let's see.
This is an ABC News special report. Good evening.
Get my likes up.
In New York at ABC News headquarters. We're coming on the air at this hour because we have breaking news. President Trump has just announced on social media that the U.S. has just completed 3 successful attacks on 3 nuclear sites in Iran. This is the post that he put out just a short time ago. We've completed our very successful attack on the 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordo, Natanz, and Esfahan. All planes are now outside of Iran airspace. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There is not another military in the world that could have done this. Now is the time for peace. Thank you for your attention to this matter. General Abrams is joining us now on the phone. General, obviously this news is just coming in. We knew this is something that the president was considering. He was meeting with his top national security officials tonight, but he did give that 2-week time period that he was going to consider all of this. What do you think changed?
Well, with it, I think, first off, I think the president preserved all options. And by putting a 2-week timeline on, he probably intentionally gave the Iranians sort of a feel that they had time to sort of gather themselves and gather their defense, which really provided an opportunity for our Air Force crews, our air crews, to have the element of surprise. And so they were able to get in and get out, as reported by the president, safely, which we're all very thankful for. And we're going to have to wait a couple of days to see how much success they had.
All right, General, thank you so much. We'll try to check back with you in just a moment, but I do want to get to our Ian panel, who's been following all of this very closely. Ian, I believe you are still there on the ground in Israel. What can you tell us about what you're learning?
Yeah, this is a major event. I mean, we have been speaking to Israeli officials over the last few days, and they were certainly making it clear to us that this 2-week window that had been set up by President Trump was unrealistic. One official said to me, without agreeing to be quoted, they felt that it was going to be much quicker than that. Remember, they have hit a number of facilities across Iran. It's now 10 days since the first bombs were dropped by Israel on Iran. But the difficulty was this one particular facility at Fordo. It's buried deep inside a mountain, and it was felt that Israel, in fact no other nation, would have the necessary ordnance nor the aircraft capable of carrying out a mission that would be capable of destroying that. Now we have to wait and see a bomb damage assessment, see how successful it's been. Nevertheless, we were reporting, hearing that U.S. stealth bombers have been moved closer to the area.
Can y'all hear? Give me a 1. I need some 1s.
Which is, it's owned by officials over the last few days, and they were certainly making it clear to us that this 2-week window that had been set up by President Trump was unrealistic. One official said to me, without agreeing to be quoted, they felt that it was going to be much quicker than that. Remember, they have hit a number of facilities across Iran. It's now 10 days since the first bombs were dropped by Israel on Iran. But the difficulty was this one particular facility at Fordo. It's buried deep inside a mountain, and it was felt that Israel,
you can't hear Judy,
would have the necessary ordnance nor the aircraft capable
Rick,
of carrying
y'all
out a
can't
mission
hear
that would be capable of destroying that. Now we have to wait and see a bomb damage assessment, see how successful it's been. Nevertheless, we were reporting and we're hearing that U.S. stealth bombers have been moved closer to the area, to Diego Garcia, which is it's owned
please
by
double
Mauritius.
tap.
It's got a British base
Double tap your screen.
and that has been the base in the Indian Ocean that would allow American bombers to be within much closer striking distance to Iran. And as the president has said, it looks like the U.S. bombers have taken place. So as we were reporting again, it was the likely the B-2 stealth bombers, which is the only bomber in the world that's capable of carrying these MOPs, these massive ordnance projectiles, these very heavy bombs. But what makes them specific is they're able to dig into the ground. In other words, they don't explode the second they touch the ground. They physically dig down into the land and then detonate. And because the depth of Fordo was so deep, it was felt that this was needed. Now, Israeli officials had been making clear to me that if President Trump decided not to act or or delayed his decision, that they would act anyway. And we have to wait and hear from Israeli officials what their role in this is. It is possible, of course, that this would be a one-off strike. I think that's less likely. It could be part of a complex of military action, not necessarily all strikes, perhaps something on the ground. There've been intelligence gathering about this facility. I mean, Israeli officials have been telling us that they're very upbeat, that they feel they've been enormously successful so far. They've already set back Iran's nuclear energy production. Of course, the Israelis in particular, and certainly President Trump, were concerned that their production of highly enriched uranium had got to this point, to 60% of production, that it could very easily then be transferred into weapons-grade uranium. And that was something that the International Atomic Energy Agency, an independent UN agency, had said was the situation, that Iran had basically doubled its production of this material, and Israel had seen that as an existential threat, that having dealt with the other so-called enemies in the neighborhood, dealt with Hamas, dealt with Hezbollah in Lebanon, in Syria, you've had a change of regime, that it was actually Iran was the one remaining piece of the puzzle, and in order to ensure the safety of the state of Israel, then they had to be sure that Iran was no longer capable of being within weeks of producing potentially weapons-grade uranium. Now, we know that the U.S. intelligence community, this has been a dispute between the president and his own director of national intelligence and the intelligence community, whether Iran had the intent to make a nuclear weapon. No one's seen any evidence to say that was the case. The issue is that they had the capability, and the judgment in an intelligence and political way was too much. So what we know from the president is that there has been this bombing run. The president described it as successful. It has hit a number of sites, and there's always been concern that even though there were agreements with Iran in place for a while, they were torn up by President Trump. The JCPOA, this nuclear treaty, which basically meant that Iran was not supposed to enrich uranium up to a certain amount, and certainly wasn't supposed to use it for nefarious purposes, that actually the reality on the ground was that Iran was not abiding, at least by the spirit, if not by the letter, of this agreement, and that had continued to raise concerns. Israel, for years, has been flagging what the situation is, but I think two things had happened, and I've heard this from Israeli officials. The two strikes that took place by Iran on Israeli soil and by Israel on Iranian soil last year were indicators to Israel that they were seeing things that were of grave concern to them, and that they felt that the window of opportunity was open, and that if they didn't act preemptively, then they could get to the point where it would be too late for them to respond. That's certainly what Israeli military and political officials will tell you here. So that is the situation. It is an important development. We've already seen.
Let's go ahead and bring in Jay O'Brien, our congressional correspondent on Capitol Hill. Speaking of some of that reaction, you're getting more of that tonight. Again, general praise from Republicans, but we know that there has been division within the party. What else are you hearing from the Hill?
Exactly right, Whit. You heard John mention, we've heard from top Republican leaders on Capitol Hill, the kinds of folks who would be briefed prior to an operation like this, saying that the White House was in touch with them before all this took place. John Thune briefed, according to multiple sources who spoke to our Rachel Scott. Rick Crawford, the top Republican on the Intelligence Committee, saying the same. Speaker Mike Johnson, I'm told, was also briefed before this operation. He is just out moments ago with a statement, the Speaker. It's a lengthy statement, but he says, in part, quote, this is a, quote, reminder to our adversaries and allies that President Trump means what he says, going on to say that President Trump made it clear that Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. But we're already starting to see some reaction, as John alluded to, from further right Republicans who say that this is the exact opposite, who say that President Trump campaigned on that slogan that he reiterated over and over again, no new wars. We've already seen Steve Bannon react to this. Steve Bannon meeting with the president president just days ago. And then there was this curious post-twit from Marjorie Taylor Greene, who made it clear over the last few days that she would oppose any kind of U.S. military action in Iran, typically a staunch ally of Donald Trump's on Capitol Hill. She posted, it seems like maybe 10, 20, 30 minutes before this operation was learned about in the general public, she posted that, quote, "This is not our fight." She goes on to say that peace is the answer with. So definitely some divisions on the further right of President Trump's party against this military action.
Jay O'Brien for us in Washington. Thank you.
Okay, let's
Don't
get
wear
back.
these perfumes if you don't like compliments. Everyone has been talking about all of these perfumes.
Okay, let's get back. Hold on. Oh, Lord.
Some reaction from certainly the Iranian media, adverse reaction to America's role. Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, had already threatened a man. Then they could get to the point where it would be too late for them to respond. That's certainly what Israeli military and political officials will tell you here. So that is the situation. It is an important development. We've already seen some reaction from certainly the Iranian media, adverse reaction to America's role. Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, had already threatened retaliation against America if this took place. There is a lot of nervousness in the region. Here in Israel, for example, the American military has been evacuating American diplomats and their families who wish to get out the area. Everyone has been put on high alert. There are a lot of American troops stationed.
Now, we are also following some breaking news coming in from Fox News here just moments ago, as they do say that 6 U.S. B-2 stealth bombers appear headed toward Guam. We are following all of the developments with that as well. And as we talk more about the conflict here, I do want to take you out to a post from the Israel Defense Forces, as they did say that 40 UAVs were intercepted by the IAF after being fired from Iran overnight. 470 or more UAVs have been intercepted since Operation Rising Lion, which is a 99% success rate. Again, all of this information and the video there on the left-hand side of your screen has been coming in on a daily basis. As always, so much to discuss here, so I do want to bring in Jonathan Ruhi. He is the GINSA Director of Foreign Policy. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us and discuss all of this today.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's my pleasure.
Of course. And first off, I did want to ask you kind of overall here, as we talk about this 2-week deadline that is approaching here from President Trump for what to do about Iran, what is at stake for the U.S. if the U.S. is to strike Iran in any way?
So obviously that's the fundamental question, and I'll answer it in 2 very quick parts. Most immediately, as everyone's tracking, is the Fordow nuclear facility. It's Iran's deepest built facility, hosts their most sensitive enrichment, and frankly, it's the last one left standing, given that Israel lacks the munitions to reliably neutralize it. And that is what President Trump has been weighing first and foremost, is the U.S. potential involvement to drop the massive ordnance penetrator bunker busters, which use those B-2s that we just saw the tweet about in your clip. So that's really sort of the hinge point that's currently being discussed for U.S. involvement. But more broadly at stake here for the United States is more than 2 decades of America's official red line across Democrat and Republican presidents alike, that Iran will not be permitted to develop a nuclear weapon, and that the United States will do whatever it takes, including using military force, to prevent that outcome. And right now, Iran has been
Trump
giving in to
released
U.S. demands on that. And then just secondly,
B-2 bombers.
Also at stake here is the potential for Iran to launch a wider war, and this goes beyond
He started
just
a
Iran,
war.
Israel.
I have to ask here, as we discuss the military itself, the power, the strength, how does Iran's military really compare to what the U.S. has?
So overall, if you stack them up next to each other, Iran's pales in comparison to America's in pretty much every measure. But if you actually turn them and face them head to head, Iran has built its military in a lot of ways to fight us in very specific ways, primarily by threatening
Son of
all of our
Hitler.
bases around the Gulf, around the Arabian Peninsula, and our ability to continue to project power into the Gulf. So Iran takes advantage of the fact that we, the United States, don't have the same air defenses as Israel does. We being our bases in the Middle East, and also, we try to operate in the Persian Gulf because it's critical to freedom of navigation and global energy supplies. But it's a very crowded and contested environment, and Iran has built its forces using all sorts of different types of missiles and drones to make it very difficult for us to operate in there if they choose.
I want to pop this up here on your screen. This is coming in from the New York Post, and it's something that is developing here as we are told by Iranian media that a top Iranian nuclear scientist was killed in Israel's strikes, and he bragged that he wasn't worried about assassination. We've seen a lot of these nuclear scientists that have been taken out during this operation, correct?
Yes, I think that was honestly one of the most stunning tactical successes in a campaign that even in just a week has been full of them for the Israelis, is essentially just like they did with a lot of Iran's military, basically taking out the command and control, the brain trust, if you will, of Iran's nuclear program. People are rightly focused on Fordow and the other physical facilities Israel has neutralized. That's the hardware, but taking out the software, the key software, is more important in terms of slowing Iran's ability to reconstitute the program.
And another question I did want to ask, because we were following that breaking news that is coming in from Fox News, as we introduced you here, we're getting the information, and they said that the U.S. B-2 stealth bombers were headed toward Guam. How significant overall is that? I assume anything that happens with the U.S. here is fairly significant, and a lot of people are going to be discussing it.
Sure are.
Can strike at
Y'all please double tap.
That's why it's crucial to be prepared. Create
I assume
your screen
anything that happens with the U.S. here is
on your
fairly
phone. Get the lights
significant, and
up.
a lot of people are going to be discussing it.
Certainly, in normal times, moving B-2 bombers overseas to places like Guam would, be interesting, but I don't think particularly consequential. But obviously, in this context, as you mentioned, everyone's watching tracking those movements. It depends, I guess, where they move next. If they stay at Guam, I would put less importance on it than if they continue on to Diego Garcia, which is a U.S.-British base in the Indian Ocean within easy flying range of Iranian targets, and it's significant.
Can y'all hear? Are y'all still able? Because I asked y'all to get the likes up and double tap y'all screen, and y'all didn't, so I was assuming y'all couldn't hear. Double tap your screen on your phone. Get the likes up.
With the U.S. here is fairly significant, and a lot of people are going to be discussing it.
Certainly, in normal times, moving B-2 bombers overseas to places like Guam would, be interesting, but I don't think particularly consequential. But obviously, in this context, as you mentioned, everyone's watching tracking those movements. It depends, I guess, where they move next. If they stay at Guam, I would put less importance on it than if they continue on to Diego Garcia, which is a U.S.-British base in the Indian Ocean within easy flying range of Iranian targets, and it's significantly a place where Trump sent a half dozen B-2 bombers earlier this year when he started negotiations with Iran as a signal that the military option was indeed on the table. So I would say to everyone, keep an eye on where they go next, if anywhere.
And I did also want to ask you here, as we go in reverse a little bit and talk a little bit more about the information that is coming in here. We do know that Iranian officials did issue a message saying that if Khamenei, the supreme leader there of Iran, is targeted in any way, the U.S. military and personnel will be attacked. Do you feel, just based on the information that we do have, that that is a legitimate threat?
I certainly think so. It goes back to my earlier point about how Iran has built a lot of its military forces to target our bases and our partners in the Gulf. And certainly what Iran is used to doing is to go to the U.S. and say, if Israel keeps hitting us, keeps pressuring us, we're going to turn around and we're going to make life very difficult for you, the United States. They did this well even before October 7th, but especially since then. And
Yep, Mary.
in this war. And so this is one more way Iran is trying to say, the harder Israel hits us, or if you, the United States, try to join in, we'll make this conflict very uncomfortable for everyone involved.
I wanted to ask, this is also something that so many people have discussed, because you always say Iran when you're talking about the situation here, but there is a difference, right, between the Iranian regime and maybe most of the people there in Iran, correct?
Certainly, yes. Speaking more, specifically, certainly there's the regime and there's the vast majority of the people. Iran has always been a country where the regime is about as anti-American as you can get, but the populace is largely not. I think what's very interesting is that in recent years, especially the past 5 or so years, we've seen the bases of open opposition to the regime, the protests, increasingly broaden. For years, when you'd see protests, it was kind of what you would expect. The longtime opponents of the regime, generally secular and urban populace, generally better off as well. In recent years, you've seen that spread across the entire country. That includes generally more rural, more religious people that have usually been the regime's reliable base of support. And their list of grievances continues to grow and grow. It's not just political corruption, stealing elections, but it's brought into economic corruption, mismanagement of Iran's natural resources, and obviously the violent repression with the Women Life Freedom Movement is a big part of that. And also, generally, their opposition to Iran's foreign adventurism. Most Iranians want a better life for themselves in Iran. They're less focused on trying to make life worse for everyone else in the Middle East.
Do we know at this point, as we see this operation continue by Israel over in Iran, how much Iran's military, their nuclear sites, have been weakened? Do we have any sort of picture of that just yet?
Yeah, obviously things like this are always in flux in a high-intensity conflict like this, but I think we can say with decent amounts of certainty that Israel has done an amazing job neutralizing Iran's biggest offensive capabilities, namely the medium-range ballistic missiles that can hit
Okay,
Israel.
so I'm going to get back to where we were at. Because y'all not getting... Oh, let me finish this one. I don't appreciate...
To get out of Iran, that will
not
prove extremely difficult at the moment. But certainly, I would say in terms of foreign policy, this is the most important, most significant moment of President Trump's second term. Whit?
Ian, panel for us, thank you very much. We're going to bring in our Louis Martinez, who's joining us now, covers the Pentagon. And Louis, you're on the phone, I believe, with us. And one thing I just wanted to ask you about, because we were getting these reports from flight tracker sites earlier that these B-2 bombers were on the move. We thought that they were moving, according to sources, toward Guam. What do we know about what may have changed in that plan? And was this part of some sort of diversion, or what was it that led to this move tonight?
But those are all great questions. We're trying to get to and get a real good handle on that. But you're exactly right. This is a very public tracking on flight tracker websites, on radio communications from air traffic controllers that indicated that these B-2s had left their base in Whiteman, Missouri, and were bound westward. We talked to officials who told us that, yes, the bombers were headed to Anderson Air Force Base in Guam, which is a place that they've deployed from previously, but that there were no further orders. So the question is, were these B-2s allowed to continue on towards Iran and striking some of these targets? Were they not used? what other kind of assets may have been used. One of the things that I think that has been lost here over the last week or so is that the United States has had a very strong military aerial presence in the region already. We knew that additional fighters and bombers had been surged into the area, but those aircraft are very capable of dropping bunker buster bombs themselves. So the focus has been on, as what Ian talked about, this massive ordnance penetrator that's that 30,000-pound bomb that only the B-2 can carry. But there are also lesser types of bunker busters, 2,000-pound bombs, 5,000-pound bombs, and those are capable of being carried by some of the more conventional aircraft in the U.S. Air Force's inventory. So the question is, where were those lesser bunker busters used? Was even massive ordnance penetrator used? And what kind of aircraft were used? Now, as we move forward from this, another thing to look at is potential retaliation from Iran. That has been the main concern at the Pentagon all throughout the discussions as President Trump met with
They had not attacked us, Larry, so I don't agree we had to do it.
If the United States does get involved, should we get involved, what kind of a retaliation could we face? And of course, you've got 40,000 troops in the Middle East region. We're talking about Iraq, Syria, Qatar, Bahrain, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates. That's where American forces are. Some of those countries some of those bases are very close to Iran. And one of the things that we've seen over the past week is that, for example, at the Navy base in Bahrain, about a dozen small Navy craft left the harbor and were essentially still in territorial waters of Bahrain, essentially to protect them. We also saw that some of the 30 aircraft, and most of them refueling aircraft,
I agree. We didn't have to do this.
Had also left.
We did not have to do it, but oh well.
Them. They've gone to other bases in the region. So the defensive posture that the Pentagon has been talking about for the past
they
week,
needed us.
That in play. And the concern is what happens if Iran is struck by the United States aircraft.
If you say so.
In terms of
ICE, the people that's over here illegally, they need us too.
Big picture on that, just broadening it out a bit more. Obviously, the region has changed dramatically with the toppling of the Assad regime in Syria, the weakening of the Houthis and Hamas and beyond. Who could potentially come to Iran's defense as an ally for them?
In Iraq and Syria, you have these proxy groups that have been greatly degraded over the last year or so, but they still maintain that capability. We have about 2,500 troops inside of Iraq. We have 1,500 inside Syria. And these are not big bases, but they're kind of exposed. Yes, they have some defensive measures. But if these groups were given the green light, we've already seen that they're capable of launching drones and rocket attacks on these bases. But if they're given the green light and go full bore, it could overwhelm potentially.
Oh, so he just wanted to be on the record.
We know that the Houthis,
so he just wanted to be on record.
He goes on to say Trump's leadership has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace. So we are getting that video incoming that he has posted on X. But Stuart, I'm just going to bring you back in because that last point that Benjamin Netanyahu has made, saying Trump's leadership has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and peace. And it goes to the point of what we've been talking about. We just don't know at this stage how the Iranians are going to react at this point from the United States and Israel. It's wishful thinking that perhaps this is the moment where they can draw a line. There won't be these continued tit-for-tat attacks between Iran and Israel. And where you are, though, things are very different. They are on high alert, and they are waiting to see what the Iranians do next.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt the two men have been talking throughout the whole of this, and to a degree, obviously, the Israeli Prime Minister, has been given the support that he'd been asking for from President Trump. He's actually got it. Now, it's going to be this pivot in history when it really might well be, not necessarily for the good, though. We just don't know what they've achieved. What the Prime Minister is inferring is that the ability of Iran to produce nuclear weapons has been finished by this attack. There's nothing I've read or know that about is absolutely guaranteed from this. Certainly any system for building anything can be started again. the definite feeling it's suggested by the Prime Minister is that this has been a conclusive attack, and it's at the very least put back any type of nuclear development back many years. He's obviously inferring further that actually it is the end, and that there is now going to be a change in the position of the Middle East, and things will change, obviously he's saying, for the better. But we're really going to have to see what has happened in those attacks, and when we can see that, there'll be an analysis of exactly how effective it's been.
Stuart, thank you so much for that update, and we'll be coming back to you in a moment. But I just want to show our viewers that video that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu posted, the one we were referring to, where he thanks President Trump for the operations that have taken place. Let's just have a look.
Congratulations, President Trump. Your bold decision to target Iran's nuclear facilities with the awesome and righteous might of the United States will change history. In Operation Rising Lion, Israel has done truly amazing things. But in tonight's action against Iran's nuclear facilities, America has been truly unsurpassed. It has done what no other...
Sam, you did it!
The stars are pitch perfect.
I look like the dancing girl emoji.
Invite you to a wedding.
The world's most dangerous regime, the world's most dangerous weapons. His leadership today has created a pivot of history that can help lead the Middle East and beyond to a future of prosperity and...
Please come in hitting the like button or double tapping your screen.
Peace through strength. First comes strength, then comes peace. And tonight, President Trump and the United States acted with a lot of strength. President Trump, I thank you. The people of Israel thank you. The forces of civilization thank you. God bless America. God bless Israel. And may God bless our unshakable alliance, our unbreakable faith.
Well, you were listening there to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu with that statement that he has put out on X. And as he said, and I quote him, history will record that Trump acted to deny the most dangerous regime, the world's most dangerous weapons. Let's bring in our Alistair Bunkle. And we've been talking about the statements that have been coming out from Donald Trump, whether that's been in interviews that he's given, phone interviews, or on Truth Social, quintessential Trump. This was very much quintessential Benjamin Netanyahu.
It was, and ticking all the boxes for Donald Trump, giving him...
When it comes to getting to market in a more quick manner, popular pace helps us move quickly and efficiently. As we all know, social media moves really quickly, influencer marketing moves really quickly. It's not always easy to find the right
What in the world?
like that. Getting at my career, you had to do it all. Getting at my career, you had to do it all by hand and manually. Campaign, the process is pretty streamlined.
What?
So what we'll do is we'll get into the popular pace platform, start to build out a
What in the
creators and
world?
influencers metaphorically raise their hand and say, I'm interested in partnering with your brand. All those requests is all centralized in one location, and it enables us to quickly review different applicants from creators from all over the country to see, are they the right fit for our client's brand?
What in the world was that?
That there are tools and platforms out there like Popular Pays that can help agencies and brands create and execute influencer marketing campaigns was a huge help for us.
There are multiple actors in play here. To a very large degree, what happens next is up to the Iranians rather than anybody else. They might take their time, as they have done in the past, to consider their response. When Israel attacked them last April, when Israel attacked them last October, it took many days for Iran to respond. I think this time around, the pressure is on, and they will be inclined to do something sooner rather than later. It is what they do, where they do it, and the consequences of that, which will, I think, ultimately determine what kind of direction the region is headed in.
Yeah, and we are expecting to hear from Donald Trump in about 6 or 7 minutes' time. That is when he is due to appear and address the nation. But regardless of what we're hearing from White House officials, and our sister network, NBC, has been reporting that White House officials are saying that Donald Trump will frame his statement as look, we're not going to go after Iran further. We've done what we needed to do, and we're now looking at diplomacy as the path forward. Having said that, already the Israeli military has said schools will be shut, non-essential operations will be shut. The region, from what we could hear Stuart saying as well, is on edge about what could come next.
Oh, very much so. I suspect there'll be a very, very tense Sunday here and across the region as everybody awaits that Iranian response. Of course, there'll be an expectation that Israel will be attacked again, although it has been now not far off 26 hours since the last major Iranian attack on Israel, the longest gap between missile attacks since Israel first started its war against Iran just over a week ago. Again, you know, there's not really too much into that. Iran still has the capability to attack Israel. Iran certainly has the capability to attack US military bases if it wants around the region. I would have thought it'd be the US military bases that will be the main target. Trump has tried to make it clear that, you know, this was an attack on Iranian military targets. They haven't gone after senior regime officials, for example. And so if it's going to be a sort of a like-for-like response, becoming a like-for-like response, because America have gone after nuclear facilities, but if it's going to be a sort of a military-for-military response, then it would be US military bases around the region that I think would be most at threat. Again, you might be able to narrow it down because you would assume that the Iranians won't want to target a country that houses a US military base that might be of significance, like, for example, Qatar, which has quite close links to Iran, also hosts the largest US base and air base in the Middle East. You know, so it could be the likes of Iraq and Syria, where they have attacked multiple times, either directly or through their proxies in the past.
Yeah, absolutely. Ali, let's bring in our Mark Stone, because Mark, we're about 3 minutes or so away from when we expect Donald Trump, the president, to address the nation. And we are expecting him to be firm, as he has been, but we're also expecting him to talk about diplomacy.
Yeah, because he will frame this as a decisive strike, out of which he hopes and he believes that diplomacy can come, that this strength, this sort of moment of strength, from that peace will come. As Netanyahu said in his statement, I imagine that the framing of Netanyahu's statement was closely aligned to the conversation that we know Netanyahu and Trump have had this evening since these strikes took place. Just to pick up on your conversation just now about where the Iranians may try and attack from, Syria or Iraq. Well, one key calculus in the American administration over the past week has been that they've been watching very closely to see how effective Iran's proxies have been at attacking Israel in these series of counterattacks. And the answer is not very effective. So that has been a very important for Donald Trump.
That's if they don't strike back.
Whether or not to get involved. He and his generals have been watching, and they've seen that actually Iran has not been that capable. There has been no mass casualty event in Israel. So that has kind of buoyed them into thinking, you know what, maybe we can get away with what we now know wasn't just one strike, it was 6 of these mobs, 6 of these massive bombs dropped on Fodor. We await to see the satellite imagery, which will give us some sense as the sun rises of just how successful it has been. Let me tell you too that we know now that when President Trump emerges in the White House in just a few moments' time, he will be flanked by his Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, by his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, and by the Vice President, J.D. Vance. They will all walk behind the president as he approaches the podium. This is not, I don't think, going to take place in the Oval Office. It's going to be an address to the nation from elsewhere in the White House, perhaps the East Room, and it will be in a few moments' time.
Yeah, as you say, in the next few moments, we are going to be hearing from President Trump, who is going to be addressing the nation. And Mark, on Friday, we saw the E3, the Europeans, the British, the German, and the French meet in Geneva with the Iranian foreign minister. there were hopes that that would get somewhere, and it really didn't. And I guess in many ways, his allies, the Europeans, those speaking to him, may have seen this situation come as a surprise. I mean, already we're hearing from Antonio Guterres, the Secretary General of the United Nations, saying he's calling for de-escalation and saying that this is a very dangerous escalation, a direct threat to international peace and security. So we are hearing from leaders from the international community waking up to this news, concerned about where this could tip the region. And just to let our viewers know, we are now at the top of the hour. It is 3 a.m. In the UK, 5 a.m. Here in Israel, and we are expecting 10 p.m. in Washington, where you are, Mark, and we are expecting perhaps in the next minute or so for President Trump to emerge.
Yes, a very rare address to the nation late at night. These addresses to the nations by US presidents, they come at moments of significance, moments of peril perhaps. They usually come earlier in the day, in line with prime time. 6 p.m. is the normal time for such an address. But just a few hours after announcing that he had launched strikes on Iran's nuclear sites, President Donald Trump will shortly address the nation. The biggest moment, I think, for sure, of his presidency, certainly the biggest moment in terms of global affairs for his presidency. He's had so many voices in his ears over the past week, that some telling him this is the moment to go for it, you should strike Iran, be decisive, peace through strength, and yet many others telling him he should not do this, that the consequences, the intended consequences and the unintended consequences are just unknown. Let's listen now, a live shot there of the podium in the White House. And as I say, he will shortly be flanked by his Secretary of State, the Vice President as well, and the Secretary of Defense to address the nation. And I guess, Yalda, to explain why he believes he did this. Here is the President now. Let's listen in.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime: Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully of the Middle East, must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to
I agree,
Israel.
Angel.
They have been killing our people, blowing... A direct result of their hate. In particular, so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen. It will not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Raisin-Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America.
This
Thank
is
you very
MSNBC's
much. Thank you.
You're listening there to that short statement from President Trump, where he's addressed the nation, and he described the operation as a spectacular military success, which is what he's been saying over the course of the last couple of hours. When he first made the announcement on Truth Social that he had launched this attack, he thanked the U.S. military for flying those magnificent machines, he said.
Was it necessary?
Good evening, everyone. You just heard from the President of the United States speaking about the attack on Iran on military assets. The President saying that this was by far the most lethal and strategic sites that we have launched an attack on. He thanked the military. He thanked the Israeli military, the U.S. military as well. I'm going to bring in now Jolly, who is my chief congressional correspondent in Washington, D.C., to talk about it. Jolly, I don't know why we did this. It seems like it was a preemptive strike to preempt what, I am not sure, but he's saying that they have gotten rid of Iran's military assets, but did not really expand on that, only to say that there with General Kane and Pete Hegseth that there's going to be a press briefing tomorrow at the Pentagon. What did you make of what's happened in the president's statement?
Honestly, I got like 5 things I want to say, and I wish I could just say them all simultaneously. I just sent you something. If we're able to put that on the screen, I don't know if it's possible. But I think that what I just sent you is, of the 5 things I have to say, the most important thing that needs to be said right now. Let me see if you were able to get that up on the screen, because I really want to know this.
What it says was Iran State TV reported that the country had evacuated personnel from 3 nuclear sites in advance. It's according to broadcaster's political deputy. Iran had relocated its nuclear stockpiles from those sites to secure locations. Is that what you're talking about, John?
That is exactly what I'm talking about. Yes, sir. So I want everybody to understand this reporting. The reporting coming out of Iran is that they were expecting these 3 sites to be hit, because as President Trump said during his address to the nation just now, these are the same 3 nuclear sites we've been talking about for a while. So when the reporting was out there that we had their airspace, and by the way, where did the reporting come from that we were in their airspace? From Donald Trump. There it is. From Donald Trump on Truth Social. So they know we're going to hit these 3 sites. So what did they do? They simply evacuated their personnel and their stockpile. So based on Iranian reporting, now listen, let's caveat this. I'm not stupid enough to think that Iran's always going to tell the truth, but I tend to believe this. I tend to believe this reporting from Iran saying you hit a bunch of nothings. Yes, you blew up the facilities. Yes, you blew up, our capabilities at those facilities, but what the progress we had made at those facilities and the people were evacuated. So now the question becomes, Don, did we just hit a bunch of empty cups and send America into war for nothing?
Yeah.
Point number 2 in this that must be discussed is, where was the congressional approval for this absolute act of war?
Exactly.
Right.
We've seen in the past, Iran does not just sit by idly and let you attack them. During Donald Trump's first term, and not enough people talk about this, during Donald Trump's first term, he killed Qasem Soleimani, and then they talk about that, but what they don't talk about is immediately after that, Iran sent missiles to U.S. bases in Iraq and damaged our bases, as well as injured over 100 soldiers stationed in Iraq, and we did nothing about it. So bet your ass Iran is going to respond to this attack. Iran is going to respond to this attack. And then let me just say this really quickly. Again, I got a lot to say, but I'll cut it off. What the fuck was that? God bless Israel. What the fuck was that? Let me congratulate Israel for working with us. Was this the American president speaking or the Israeli vice president? I couldn't tell.
Well, that is a concern from, I'm glad you said that, from a lot of folks. And as you said here, which is going to be the controversy here. Why would he do it? Why was this? This was basically unilateral. I don't believe that. I think that Iran or Israel may have gotten word of it shortly before it happened, but Trump faces bipartisan blowback in Congress on these Iran strikes. And he said, while most congressional Republicans and some pro-Israel Democrats are praising President Donald Trump, Jolly, the strikes on Iran's nuclear facility, pockets of opposition are already emerging in both parties. Why does this matter? The objections center on the argument that Trump needed, as you said, congressional authorization for such a provocative use of military force, with one House Democrat pushing for a vote to restrict further unilateral action. This is a unilateral act that this president decided, as he decides with his executive orders, to act on his own and not really get congressional approval and go through the normal diplomatic channel.
But let's remind everyone, Don, that prior to this unilateral attack, Representatives Ro Khanna from California, as well as Republican Representative Tom Massey, bipartisan agreement on the House floor passed a bipartisan agreement saying that the president shall not act without the approval from Congress because here's why it's important. Any action on Iran is an act of war. And so the Congress is saying, hey, if it's congressional, I want to explain to everybody the semantics of this. Congress is saying if it is the power of the Congress to declare war, then it is the power of the Congress to approve an act of war. I need everyone to understand that. You know, Donald Trump and his team may try to play this pedantic argument of we didn't declare war, we made strategic military strikes. No. Iran made this clear, and the context of the world situation, the international situation, made it clear. Any action on Iran would be an act of war. So the president just unilaterally, and might I add, unconstitutionally declared war on Iran, and there is no positive outcome for the United States on this. This is Israel's war. This is Israel's war. And let me remind everyone, we have troops overseas right now. I will not say who, and I will not name any names, but I've received over the course of the last 3 or 4 days messages from people that I know personally, so I can vouch for them, that they've, as of recent, been sent to the Middle East. They did not tell me where they were in the Middle East, nor would I ask, because that would break operational security. But we have troops over there. So, Don, here comes the next part of this conversation. If this was just supposed to be a strategic military strike and then you get on Timu Twitter and scream, now's the time for peace, then why do we have troops in the Middle East already? Because they all know and they all expect further escalation.
Yeah, and of course I would expect further escalation. I mean, Iran always strikes back, even in its weakened state that Israel has weakened it over the last year. They're still striking back now, and one could expect that we will perhaps see, you know, what has happened over the last few weeks since it's been happening. As we put it up now, one will expect that we are going to see the fireworks, so to speak, the rockets and what have you, you know, going on over Israel and Iran into the immediate future. And so this is what can happen. But what is interesting is that who gets to decide? What happens, and who gets to either rein in the United States or rein in Israel, or at least they have some, you know, idea of some sort of oversight into all of this, Jolly? That is a huge thing here. Are these two men just acting on their own?
Yes, they are. I mean, right? I mean, Congress has made it clear. So Between the strike happening, when the news of the strike first came out, I immediately reached out to a bunch of my congressional contacts because that's what I do. I talk to Congress a lot. And I'm going to tell you, about 80% of them gave me the following response. We're waiting for more information from the president to find out what just happened. And why are they waiting? Okay. Because this type of act is an act of war. So without congressional approval, you can't make an act of war. This is a unilateral act, and we've already seen some congresspeople make public statements. Representative Jasmine Crockett of Texas stated that she feels this was a unilateral act of war. She's made a public statement on her social media platforms saying that this was a unilateral act of war, and she's not wrong. Thomas Mase, a Republican, I want to point out he's a Republican, stated that this was unconstitutional, and he's right. It is. So now the question becomes, what next? And by the way, I just really want to highlight that at the end of his address here, the president said two things. He said, "All thanks to God, we love you, God." And that just, what? I mean, it's one thing to say, "God bless America." It's another thing to say, "All thanks to God, we love you, God," as if you're representing America from the position of the Christian God. And so that's where we are, Don. He's making it clear. Three things he's made clear. He don't give a fuck what Congress says, because Congress said don't attack Iran. He did it anyway. Number two, he's made it clear that, his God's the only God. And by the way, calling it his God is another conversation, but his God's the only God. And then number three, he said, God bless Israel and congratulations to Israel, and America stands with Israel. Meaning what? Meaning, by the way, the only reason we did this is because of Israel.
Yeah. State sponsor of terrorism. He said that Iran, during his speech just moments ago, his address to the nation and the world, really, President of the United States, Donald Trump, said that Iran was the #1 state sponsor of terrorism, that they had made significant hits on sites in Iran. It says their nuclear facility capabilities had been totally obliterated. Those are his words. He said that there were 40 years, they said, for 40 years, Iran has been killing people. And it has contributed to the death of Israelis and people in Israel. And he thanked Benjamin Netanyahu. He said that he also thanked the U.S. patriots, he said, and the U.S. military. And also, as you said, he thanked God, and then also put Israel into that statement as well.
But Don, okay, honest question. Now think about what I'm about to say. I want everybody watching this to think about the words I'm about to say. In his statement, he said that Iran has been attacking American soldiers and has been attacking American assets and been the #1 threat to America and the #1 state sponsor of terrorism. Without arguing the credentials of all that, without arguing the absolutism of all those statements, let's just take all those statements at face value, okay?
Mm-hmm.
If all that's true, then why did we not do anything about it? Right? This is how you know it. This is how you know it's not true. This is how you know it's not true. If all of those things were true, then we would have acted on them well before now. But it's either a coincidence that I don't believe in, or proof that he's lying, that we waited until Israel wasn't involved in a war with Iran before we acted. So you can say all these things. You can try to play the magician, watch this hand while the other hand shuffles the cards, and say that this is because they're #1 state sponsor of terrorism and they attack Americans and blah, 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 blah. But the fact is, you didn't do anything about it until Israel said to do something about it, which means all of those things, you don't even believe them to be true, but Israel said so, so you have to.
So what do you mean? Explain that. What are you saying?
What I'm saying is, okay, if Iran is all these things that we're saying Iran is, if Iran is attacking Americans and doing these things to America, then we would immediately respond, yay or nay. Of course we would.
Yes.
If you attack Americans, we're going to respond with the same military might that he just said was the greatest military might in the world, and he's right. America's the #1 military in the on the globe. He's not wrong about that. So if these other things were true that he's telling us during this speech, Iran's doing X, Y, Z, then why did we do nothing about it? We did not act until Israel wanted us to act. So that means that, Mr. President, you're saying Iran did A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, and we sat quietly. But when Israel got involved, then we acted, right? So that means that they weren't doing all these things, and you're just using that now as just as post justification for the strike.
Once you translate the God part into Middle Eastern languages, they are going to interpret our actions as a religious war. So we just escalated this as dark math. Do you agree with that? Dark math.
I think that they have a point to this degree, that state-run media overseas could put that spin on it. You're right. State-run media could use that as a recruitment tool to join the war against America. You're not wrong. I don't think that, you know, anyone who's been following it over there is going to believe it's a religious war. I mean, they're not stupid. They have the common sense to make sound analysis. But I do think that state-run media can definitely put that spin on it. And someone who maybe hasn't been following the political situation could fall for it. But here's the facts. Here's the facts.
We are what
Iran's going to
should
strike back.
the U.S.
We don't know how. We don't know when. But you can
Please vote on the
take that shit
poll.
to the bank and cash it. They're going to strike back. And Don, you know who they're most likely going to strike against? Our troops that we have overseas. We have them everywhere.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, listen, Tucker Carlson said that last week, and we found ourselves flabbergasted and flummoxed because we were agreeing with Tucker Carlson.
I mean, I'm glad you brought that up. MAGA split on this prior to this strike. Some of the biggest influencers in the MAGA sphere were making posts saying, hey, I support Donald Trump. He's my guy. Make America great again, and I hate black and brown people, but if you attack Iran, I'm out. They were saying this. Hey, listen, I love everything you stand for, but if you attack Iran, I'm out. Now he has. Prior to you and I going live, I scrolled my MAGA feed. I have a whole account, by the way, where I interact with MAGA to make sure that that account's always MAGA. So I got on my MAGA feed. Oh, my God. MAGA's not happy. MAGA is split, and I argue, and I have no quantifiable data to back this up, but I argue, based on what I'm seeing on my social media, it's 70-30. 70% of MAGA does not approve of Donald Trump's action. The MAGA take on this is Israel's war. What does it got to do with America? What about America first? This is not what we asked for. We just left 20 years of war. And like you said, we found ourselves flabbergasted to be agreeing with Tucker Carlson. I now find myself flabbergasted to be agreeing with 70% of MAGA sphere on social media.
I have a friend who is a very trusted political analyst and who's usually right on, who says this could be the split in the MAGA party. This could be the chink in the armor that breaks up this Donald Trump's hold on the party, because people are really against this. He came into office promising no wars, that he would get rid of the forever wars, that he would not only protect Israel, but he would also protect Muslim lives. And it doesn't appear that he has acted on any of that.
No, what I tell you on the phone, when you and I spoke on the phone right after this happened, you said, hey, Jolly, what's your take? Remember I said, this is going to break MAGA up? I said it. This is going to break MAGA up. It's going to. You got the Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson's a big name in this MAGA sphere. All the other smaller
Shout out to
MAGAs on
Don
social
Lemon.
media are agreeing with him. This is it. The cult's over. And now I fear it gets worse for all of us as Americans. Because now that the cult's over, now that the 10-year honeymoon period's over, now he's going to be left with no choice but put the hammer down. Because until now, he felt like he had 77 million people at his back to make a decision. You don't have that anymore. And once he realizes that, he's going to have nothing but full-blown authoritarianism to establish any type of control.
Why is this the straw that broke the camel's back?
That's the question, dude. You just asked
with the MAGA folks, why is this sort of their breaking point?
I said the same thing. Like, I was kind of surprised by it. I was like, of all the shit.
Okay, y'all. I will be back. I don't know how to hold on.
This motherfucker's done. This is where you drew the line in the sand, and I was surprised by it. Literally surprised by it, because they do whatever he says. I mean, one day they'll say, you know, the price of eggs, and then the next day they'll be like, well, eggs is a complex thing, and the market's something. Like they flip on a dime. But with this, they have drawn their line in the sand, and I'm going to tell you something. MAGA as a majority is over it, and I think, Don, that even though it's a cult, even though these people have been, you know, goaded into this QAnon wackadoodle world, America as a whole is tired of war. America as a whole just spent 20 plus years in the Middle East. We don't want any more war in the Middle East. We are absolutely
If you're just tuning in, we are following the breaking news that U.S. bombers carried out strikes today at 3 Iranian nuclear sites. One at Natanz, a site that had previously been hit by Israel. Israel and Iran have been trading strikes since Israel's surprise attack last Friday. Israel has already attacked the site at Natanz. Now the United States has done so as well. Another nuclear site near Isfahan in Iran. And also, according to the president, the facility called Fordo, which is a deeply buried facility. And that's important tactically, because the U.S. military is believed to have essentially unique targeting capacity to hit a site like that. It is a deep underground facility. The United States has essentially developed weapons specifically to target facilities like that one. And so these B-2 bombers that have reportedly carried out these strikes tonight in Iran are aircraft with capacity that no other military in the world really has. Now, common wisdom about this president, about the political movement that he leads, is that he is supposedly isolationist, that he is supposedly anti-war. That has never been exactly right. That's always been kind of a lazy common wisdom. In less than 6 months back in office, he has threatened military action against Panama, against Canada, against Denmark in order to seize Greenland. He has bombed Yemen over and over and over again, and now he appears to have entered the United States military into a war in Iran, something that neoconservatives have thrilled to for, I guess, 2 generations now. A lot of commentary around the Trump phenomenon and Trump's politics would suggest that he has risen in opposition to the neoconservatives who have advocated for this type of war since essentially the Iranian Revolution in 1979. But since 1979, the U.S. military has not engaged directly with Iran. But Donald Trump has done so tonight. Donald Trump has ordered U.S. military bombing raids on Iran.
However,
we are now in war.
We now see
with
this
Iran.
split in MAGA, and we
President
even
Trump
see
announced the strikes on his
coming out that weren't coming out
niche
before,
social
saying,
media
"Hell no,
platform,
this ain't
which
it."
is called Truth Social.
now see the
He said
tide
in that
turning
post,
against
quote,
Donald Trump.
"We have completed
And I
a very
actually
successful
believe
attack on the
that
3 nuclear
impeachment
sites in Iran,
might
including
actually
Fordo,
work right
Natanz,
now,
and Esfahan.
when if you
All
asked me this
planes are
48
now
hours ago,
outside
I'd say,
Iran
hell no,
airspace.
it's
A
nothing
full
but political
payload
theater.
of
So I happen to agree with AOC.
inexplicable all capital letters, bombs. It's not an acronym, he's just spelling it in all capital letters. A full payload of bombs was dropped on the primary site, Fordo. All planes are safely on their way home. Congratulations to our great American warriors. There's not another military in the capital world that could have done this. Then he says in all capital letters, "Now is the time for peace!" Exclamation point. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Remember, this is a cult.
President in his
These MAGA, look at that shit. These MAGA.
To everyone who finds joy in a great meal, we can't wait to see you again at Culver's.
Our menu has something for everyone.
My favorite is new crispy chicken sandwich. Let us make your favorite spread.
From Wisconsin with love.
He has no power over the Republican Congress anymore.
Spelling and delivery, delivering the most sober possible message to the American people, who have been largely opposed to to and afraid of a potential U.S. war with Iran.
Again, I want to thank the U.S. Patriots. I want to thank the U.S. military, the Joint Chiefs of
President Trump to address the nation just about an hour from now, talking about this decision. Well, of course, we'll bring you that
there's going
live
to be
when it
peace, or he
happens.
says this
Joining
is
us now
important, or
from
there's going to be
Washington, D.C. is
tragedy
NBC News White House
for Iran.
correspondent
There's going to be
Monica
peace, but there's going to be
Monica,
tragedy
thanks
for
very
Iran.
much for being
And
with
he
us. I
says,
know this is
there may be
crunch
more
time.
targets.
What can you tell us about this decision tonight and what we know about the potential scope of this military engagement?
Yeah, Rachel, good to be with you. Look, this is an incredibly consequential decision of a massive scale for any president, but of course, in particular, for this one who had been touting the fact that he was going to maybe give Iran as much as 2 weeks to see if a diplomatic solution could be possible. We knew that there were European leaders huddling with Iranian officials in Geneva as recently as yesterday, and he was even arguing from the tarmac when he was traveling yesterday and on Air Force One that perhaps that was a possibility, but he had been also very clear that it was likely that if he didn't get the terms of a deal that he was potentially pursuing here, that the U.S. military could get more involved. Now, he's going to lay out, I'm told, his rationale to the American people for this when he does speak at 10 p.m., and he is going to, of course, additional strikes. Again, at this moment, this has obviously been unfolding in real time, can change incredibly quickly, but that is the posture as of, again, this second. And we know that the president also just a couple of hours ago had a conversation with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel. We know that this was a U.S. military operation that was heavily coordinated with Israel. They obviously were briefed on every step of the way. They knew this was happening. It was done, again, in a highly coordinated fashion, and that's not surprising. The president has been in touch with the prime minister pretty much every day over this last week or so when it comes to this conflict. And I can also tell you, Rachel, that he was traveling back from his property in Bedminster, New Jersey. He returned to Washington around 5:30 p.m. this evening, and he went to the Situation Room where he monitored much of this in real time, again, with some of his top national security advisors, and where we know that this is something that will be planned. It's going to continue to take place throughout the evening. We know that tomorrow he has another National Security Council meeting, and to the point that you started this show with about this question of the U.S. effectively being at war with Iran right now, this is a president that's going to need to come out and tell the American people why he made that decision, why this posture was one he felt was inevitable, and you're already seeing a lot of lawmakers and a bipartisan effort, we should point out, raising questions about this and using this kind of military authority without that congressional approval. We know there had been a resolution that had been in the works over the last couple of days to see if that could be put up for a vote next week that was anticipating this potentially. But again, this is President Trump's maybe perhaps most consequential decision of this second term. Of course, there were many in the first term, but this is also a person who we need to remind everybody as a candidate repeatedly campaigned on and against ending all foreign wars and not pushing the U.S. further into these kinds of military entanglements overseas. So I think there's a lot of questions tonight about his approach to all of this. But I can also tell you, Rachel, just from talking to my White House sources a short time ago, they're very pleased with the fact that this was able to be carried out covertly, that it didn't appear that anything leaked, and that they were able to do this and keep U.S. military and U.S. personnel who were involved as safe as possible throughout the evening for now.
Monica, this is both a communications, White House communications question and also sort of a strategic question, which is that I know that I'm sure that the White House has seen the American public polling on this and knows that this is an unpopular move. The president has been so opaque, almost teasing in his remarks to reporters about how nobody knows what I'm going to do. The White House hasn't made an effort to try to publicly sell to the American people the necessity of a strike like this. They've done the strike now, and we don't know, again, if this will just be a one-off or this is the start of a longer engagement. Once you've bombed another country, you don't necessarily get a say as to how much war you end up with them in. Is there a sense at the White House that there is going to be, they meant to, they now plan to try to do more communication to the American people as to why this is necessary, why this is our war. Secretary of State, for example, Marco Rubio, has argued essentially the opposite to the American people in very recent days.
Yeah, just as recently as about a week ago, when this conflict really began in earnest and all of the fire was being exchanged between Iran and Israel, that was the top line from many White House officials and senior aides, saying that this was something where the U.S. was assisting Israel in its defense as missiles and drones were coming in from Iran, but that it wouldn't go beyond that and that this was Israel's conflict to manage. So you're right to note that there was a shift in that pretty dramatically, and the president began to say that he was very concerned about Iran's ability to build and have a nuclear weapon, even contradicting several times his own director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard. In fact, just yesterday, flat out, he said she's wrong, referring to her testimony in March about her doubts that Iran was as close as the president believes Iran was to having a nuclear weapon. And days before, he had said, I just don't think that she's right about that. And he dismissed her entirely. And then again yesterday, he said, I don't even care what my entire intelligence community says. I believe that they were just very close to having that ability. So we are also seeing that split in the last couple of days that the president himself has talked about uniquely, but that the intel community is at odds with, which is really, really significant here. I think that Vice President J.D. Vance and a couple of other people who have been key to the president in this decision-making did start to lay the groundwork a couple of days ago for this rationale of potentially dropping bombs in Iran, saying that this is a president who will respond with great force if he feels there's any risk to American assets or personnel. And we know that that was a little bit of a factor in this, that the president completely was arguing in a lot of his meetings with national security advisors that he was worried that there could be exposure to or retaliation to U.S. military personnel or U.S. interests abroad and also at home. And that was something that drove a little bit of this decision as well. But I think that you're going to now see also this major split in MAGA world play out in real time, with a lot of people in his base who were arguing quite publicly against this kind of military intervention from the U.S., and then some who were trying to back him up and say that this is a president who should be trusted for making these decisions, and trying to argue that he, if he did it, would be in the right authority to do so. But I think he keeps saying that his supporters will love him no matter what. But I think this is a real question for the base and those millions of supporters who do have differing views on this, Rachel.
NBC News White House correspondent Monica Alba joining us from Washington. Monica, thank you. I know it's going to be a long night. I really appreciate you being here with us.
In getting all these MAGA cultists back on board, if they are successful in getting MAGA back on board after they have abandoned ship, then truly America's doomed. Then truly there's no turning back. Then truly fascism and autocracy.
Visit one of our showrooms nationwide and get your dream kitchen today for as low as $149 a month at cabinetstogo.com.
And if MAGA comes back around and the cult and the band gets back together again because the propaganda machine got them all in line, there's no going back. That's it. Wrap it up. Turn the lights off. Fucking cameras down. No rap party. Shelf the production. We're done.
I want to put this up for you right now, because I think this is really important as well. This is what the information that we're getting. Again, this is coming in from the producers who are saying, per CBS News, top Democrats on congressional intelligence committees were not briefed in advance of the bombings.
But guess who was? Guess who was?
Who was?
The Republicans.
Yeah.
So this is important for everyone. I'm glad you brought it up, because I actually was looking at this before we went live and I forgot about it. So Republican Congress members were briefed on this prior to it happening, but Democratic Congress members were not. Guys, this is not what a democracy looks like. This is not what a constitutional republic looks like, which is a democracy. This is not what a functioning government looks like. I mean, you know what I mean, Don? Like,
yeah, I do.
Think about that. Think about that. You brief Republicans and not fucking Democrats?
Well, I mean, he doesn't care. Because Democrats are going to say don't go, but the interesting position that he's in is that a lot of his base will say don't go either, don't do it. And so I guess he figures that Republicans, maybe the Republicans who are in Congress, in the Senate, that they are a part of the establishment, they won't say anything because they're beholden to him. But the people who are in his base and some of his loudest voices and supporters who are out there are not beholden to him. And they have been speaking out for weeks now, concerned about this very thing. You heard Steve Bannon saying, we have started something, we've gotten into something that Israel started and they can't finish.
And you heard what he said. Israel didn't even hold up their end of the deal. We're doing the heavy lifting. Guys, this is Iraq 2.0. This is Iraq 2.0.
You believe that?
What's the difference? Oh, they got weapons of mass destruction. In this case, nuclear weapons. Oh, all the intelligence in the world says that's not true, but we have to trust that the president has the intelligence. The rest of us. This is exactly what happened in 2003.
They're going to say, look, Jolly, you're being hyperbolic. Of course not. No way. This is not right. That's what they're going to say about what you're saying, is that you're just being hyperbolic about this.
And to the naysayers, I say this. If Iran was the threat that we're being told Iran was, then why would we need the Israeli escalation for us to join? Okay? If I don't like you and I tell you that, this guy is my worst enemy and I want to fight him and we got to fight, but I never fight you until my best friend has a problem with you. I'm fighting on behalf of my best friend. I'm not fighting. Everything I say is bullshit, right? So America's literally, here's what Donald Trump, I want everybody to please pay attention because this is what's coming in the next 72 hours. They are trying to sell you the snake oil that Iran is a threat to America and that we need to attack them there before they attack us. If you're not over the age of 30, maybe you haven't heard this before, but it's exactly what we were told in 2003, that we have to attack them over there. At that time, it was Al-Qaeda. We got to attack Al-Qaeda over there so they don't come to the homeland. We have to go abroad and fight terrorism so the terrorism doesn't come here. By the way, why did we go into Afghanistan? We were told that Afghanistan was where terrorists were training at. Why did we go to Iraq? We were told Iraq was sponsoring. Well, literally, go look it up. Go into the Google machine. Set your parameters. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but on Google you can set the dates where don't Google anything past 2003. Put 2003 as your parameter and type in state-sponsored terrorism, and every article that comes up will come up about Iraq. Okay. This is exactly the same rhetoric that was used in 2003 to sell us the bill of goods that we should invade Iraq, and we occupied Iraq. And this is literally just the Iraqi playbook, and we changed the Q to an N.
Jolly, it was a short statement, but I think everyone deserves to hear this short statement. And here it is. This is the President of the United States just moments ago addressing the nation.
Thank you very much. A short time ago, the U.S. military carried out massive precision strikes on the 3 key nuclear facilities in the Iranian regime, Fordow, Natanz, and Esfahan. Everybody heard those names for years as they built this horribly destructive enterprise. Our objective was the destruction of Iran's nuclear enrichment capacity and a stop to the nuclear threat posed by the world's #1 state sponsor of terror. Tonight, I can report to the world that the strikes were a spectacular military success. Iran's key nuclear enrichment facilities have been completely and totally obliterated. Iran, the bully,
Can y'all hear?
must now make peace. If they do not, future attacks will be far greater and a lot easier. For 40 years, Iran has been saying death to America, death to Israel. They have been killing our people, blowing off their arms, blowing off their legs with roadside bombs. That was their specialty. We lost over 1,000 people, and hundreds of thousands throughout the Middle East and around the world have died as a direct result.
Can y'all still hear and see?
so many were killed by their general, Qasem Soleimani. I decided a long time ago that I would not let this happen.
Okay, great.
It
Thank
will
you.
not continue. I want to thank and congratulate Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu. We worked as a team like perhaps no team has ever worked before. And we've gone a long way to erasing this horrible threat to Israel. I want to thank the Israeli military for the wonderful job they've done. And most importantly, I want to congratulate the great American patriots who flew those magnificent machines tonight, and all of the United States military on an operation the likes of which the world has not seen in many, many decades. Hopefully, we will no longer need their services in this capacity. I hope that's so. I also want to congratulate the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dan Kane, spectacular general, and all of the brilliant military minds involved in this attack. With all of that being said, this cannot continue. There will be either peace or there will be tragedy for Iran far greater than we have witnessed over the last 8 days. Remember, there are many targets left. Tonight's was the most difficult of them all, by far, and perhaps the most lethal. But if peace does not come quickly, we will go after those other targets with precision, speed, and skill. Most of them can be taken out in a matter of minutes. There's no military in the world that could have done what we did tonight, not even close. There has never been a military that could do what took place just a little while ago. Tomorrow, General Kane, Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth will have a press conference at 8 a.m. at the Pentagon. And I want to just thank everybody, and in particular, God. I want to just say we love you, God, and we love our great military. Protect them. God bless the Middle East. God bless Israel, and God bless America. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I didn't even catch the first time around that he said, God bless the Middle East. He said this is a military attack, the likes the world hasn't seen in decades, or many, many decades. Well, no, I disagree with you there, Donald Trump. We just seen an attack like this in March of 2003, because all of us were alive and can remember it. March 2003, remember the initial invasion of Iraq was called shock and awe, and we watched it happen live on our TV sets across the country. So no, this isn't an attack that we like the likes we haven't seen in many, many decades. This is actively rewriting history. This goes back to reiterate the point I was just previously making. They are trying to sell us the same exact fucking timeshare that we were sold in 2003, but it's been renovated and they took the popcorn off the ceiling and now it's a better timeshare. This is the same bullshit. This is a 20-year war if we get involved, and this guy, this 79-year-old, fucking Nepo baby, just unilaterally made the decision. It is disgusting. Disgusting.
Now, Jolly, where are we right now? and do we even know at this point where we are?
We are in the upside down, Don. The fucking upside down. Because why is the president of peace? Remember that? Remember that night? Don't you remember? I remember in October and September, the MAGA screaming, we are the party of peace, and I'm voting for Donald Trump because no new wars under Donald Trump. Well, fucking surprise!
We are now at war under Donald Trump.
Well, what do you think, Don? Do you think that this is active war?
Yeah, it's an active war, especially, yes. And some folks will say, oh, well, they're not official. It is when you didn't consult Congress. Right. It is when there was no, provocation on any U.S. assets that I know about now. There were no provocative acts. It appears that we are just acting on Israel's behalf. And as you and I have been saying, and others, is that, to put it simply and bluntly in the vernacular, is that Benjamin Netanyahu is dog walking Trump right now, and Benjamin Netanyahu is the de facto leader of a free world. He's deciding all of this. Donald Trump is deciding none of this.
But honestly, they're just way out of my budget.
So Donald Trump has tweeted. I'm gonna read the tweet to you. Actually, I'm gonna send it to you so you can throw it up if you don't have it already. I'm gonna send it to you. Well, it's Temu Twitter. Please keep in mind it's Temu Twitter. It's Truth Social. Let me send this to you.
Temu Twitter.
Temu Twitter. Truth Social. Any retaliation. Now, by the way, he did this. If you can put it on the screen, everybody will see it once you get it.
Yeah, I'll put it up.
Yeah, once you get it.
1 second, I'll put it up.
This is how you know Donald Trump's doing it from the White House shitter. But it's all caps, you know, like he does this like thing that, you know, 79-year-old people do when they type in all fucking caps. But
Oh, wow.
Here's what it reads. Any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. Thank you.
Wow.
Donald J. Trump,
Happy.
President of the United States.
Wow.
That is an absolute threat and a declaration of war without congressional approval. And by the way, it's not even through any, I don't know why he had Marco Rubio and Pete Hegseth and fucking J.D. Vance behind him today, because he makes all his declarations through non-official channels on Temu Twitter. This is fucking gross. Yeah, thank you. That's my response to it.
Yeah, that's my. Look, I'm sitting here and I'm trying to get the information up that you put, and I quite frankly don't really know what to say because it's so extraordinary of what we're witnessing right now.
The president just said on a social media website, the most unofficial of channels, if Iran retaliates, they'll be met with greater force. Don, let's be honest with all of our viewers right now. Is Iran going to retaliate?
Of course, Iran's going to retaliate.
1,000%. 100,000% Iran retaliates. And so the president, Donald Trump, just put us into a position we can't back out of now. He just said on Temu Twitter, any act of force will be met with, or any act of retaliation by Iran will be met with a force greater than what witnessed tonight.
Yeah. These are photos from the Situation Room that are being put out from the news wires. And that is him and with his Make America Great Again hat on. All right. So he's such a calm. Yeah. And Pete Hegseth and Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance in the Situation Room. It looks like it's Marco Rubio there in the foreground.
You know, you're right. It is. It's Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth, and J.D. Vance.
Yeah, and J.D. Vance.
Hi, Carol.
It's the four white men that are making all these.
Should the U.S. have gotten involved? 63% of us said no. 36% says yes.
What are we doing?
Well, I mean, you know what we're doing.
Yeah, I know.
Look, and I think, but I also think that honestly, this is a wag the dog situation. If I must be honest with you, he needed something here, and so you know, he is taking us basically to war. Now, I don't know. There are no boots on the ground that I know of so far. But when we are doing our own strikes, you know, and he is calling it, and he is, you know, saying, you know, God bless Israel or whatever, as if he is the prime minister of Israel. It's very shocking it should be shocking to all, and it should be disqualifying to all, as a matter of fact.
And I agree with AOC. It's time for us to have a bipartisan impeachment. Like, I don't care where you sit on any other issue. If you're a member of Congress and you fucking agree with this shit, then you've lost the plot. This needs to be a bipartisan impeachment, and I'm glad you brought up that he sounded like Israel's prime minister, because he does. Well, I don't know if it was the president of the United States or the vice president of Israel speaking. And by the way, you said there's no boots on the ground. I have spoken directly to members, active duty military members, through both text message and other messaging services that have told me that in the past 7 days, they've been sent to the Middle East. They did not tell me where in the Middle East, nor would I ask, but they were previously not in the Middle East, and now at the time of our conversation are in the Middle East. Don, why would we have troops in the Middle East if we didn't already plan for an escalation?
Well, yeah, there you go. It also, I mean, look, it kind of contradicts a little bit what we've been saying. Why do we have, I guess we were planning for some sort of escalation, but perhaps we didn't know that we would be involved. Maybe he knew that Benjamin Netanyahu.
I hope not.
Wanted, even
not wasting
Donald
time
Trump saying anything. Obviously, without Donald Trump saying anything. So perhaps that's why those troops have been stationed.
Y'all, please hit the like button. Double tap your screen.
That you and I have talked about here. Benjamin Netanyahu's been saying, Jolly, for how long that they were near. How are we to believe Benjamin Netanyahu or Donald Trump right now in this moment that there are indeed nuclear assets or capabilities that they struck in Iran?
You know what? I'm so glad you said what you just said. Because now, thank you, Don. Now, after this address tonight to the nation where he said, God bless Israel, and he even said during the address, congratulations to Israel. So let's go back now. Let's take our trip in the time machine, Don, to the conversation that you and I were just having, what was it, 3 days ago, where we were saying that the previous missiles that were launched on Iran that America was trying to deny we had anything to do with, it is now abundantly clear that we had everything to do with. The president just basically, because by the way, the official U.S. stance on that was we had nothing to do with it. That was all Israel. And Iran was saying, no, that was the U.S. Well, now after tonight, Donald Trump has all but confirmed that we had everything to do with the initial launch on Iran as well. Because when you come out and say stupid shit like, God bless Iran, wrap it up. God bless Israel. Wrap it up, dude. Wrap it up. We are nothing more than just an Israeli asset. Our military is an Israeli asset. I want everybody who supports the troop. I want everybody who's a veteran. I want everybody who holds in high regard the United States military to understand that right now our president has made the United States military an Israeli asset. How does that sit with you? How do you feel about that? How does that make you feel knowing that our sons and daughters are Israeli assets? That should enrage you to the very fucking core of who you are. If you have a moral compass at all, I don't give a shit who you voted for. I don't give a fuck what your registration card says, Republican, Democrat, Independent, otherwise. I need you to reach down in your moral compass right now and ask yourself, how do you feel knowing that our sons and daughters are Israeli assets?
Every day for the action, every day of testimony.
Jolly, also this, because,
oh, wow.
We don't know who to believe at this point. That's the problem. We don't know, because Donald Trump, if his lips are moving, he's lying.
Yep.
And this is, again, as you pointed out, this is according
if his lips are moving, he's lying.
They're reporting here, Jolly, and they're saying that the country had evacuated personnel from the 3 nuclear sites in advance, the ones that Donald Trump mentioned during his briefing there moments ago. According to the broadcaster's political deputy, Iran had relocated its nuclear stockpiles from those sites to secure locations. So, as you've been saying, what did they get? What did this accomplish? What did this accomplish?
The propaganda machine is going to continue to spin it as a successful military operation. None of our pilots were shot down. Nobody was captured. We hit our targets. There was no collateral damage. That's what's coming. I want to prepare everybody for that. That's what's coming. This propaganda machine that we had a successful military operation and no other military in the world can do it but us. We hit sites that we aimed for and there was no collateral damage and no loss of American life. But as you just pointed out, Don, but what did we do? Other than escalate this fucking tinderbox into full-blown war. Because now, as I just pointed out, the president has gone back on Team Twitter and said, hey, any escalation by Iran will be met with greater force. Well, Iran's going to retaliate. There's no ands, ifs, or buts about it. Iran is going to retaliate. And so now the president has said, we will then retaliate. Guys, once acts of war become a ping pong situation, we are at war.
We at war.
Let me say it again. Without
We
congressional
at war. No matter what you think.
Right on. If you're just joining us, you're watching our chief congressional correspondent, Jolly Good Ginger, joining us we're on Washington, D.C. We've been discussing what has transpired over really the last 2 or 3 hours, Jolly, that once we got word from this. And that is the United States is at war. Donald Trump is now officially a wartime president. He promised not to be. And just moments ago, President Donald Trump announced the U.S. military that they conducted airstrikes. He confirmed at a press briefing at the White House moments ago, airstrikes on 3 Iranian nuclear facilities. The sites that Trump said were hit included Iran's 2 major uranium enrichment centers, the Mountain facility at Fordo, and the larger enrichment plant at Natanz, which Israel struck several days ago with smaller weapons. The third site, near the ancient city of Isfahan, is where Iran is believed to keep its near bomb grade enriched uranium, which inspectors saw just 2 weeks ago. Okay? Now, we need to be clear about this. This administration's decision to intervene directly in support of Israel's effort to destroy Iran's nuclear program is an unprecedented historic escalation in the Middle East. These strikes, which came on the 9th night of the war between Israel and Iran, will likely provoke retaliation from Tehran against U.S. troops and military installations across the region. Jolly has been speaking about that. Jolly, it is, folks are wondering, why did we do this, especially unilaterally, when it appears at this point, unless they have some intelligence that we don't know about, that no assets, United States assets had been targeted, or at least were planned to be targeted, unless I guess we did what we did now. Why did this have to happen in the first place, and why are we acting on behalf of Israel?
Not only
are we asking that, Donald Trump's staunchest supporters, many of them, MAGA, is asking that. Sorry, Jolly, to interrupt you.
No, I'm so glad you said that last part. Listen, the MAGA's breaking up with Donald Trump. Not only do we not have intelligence that Iran had any intentions of striking us, Iran came out and said, hey, United States, this is not between us and you. So this is between us and Israel. Leave us the fuck alone. If you get involved, we're going to strike back. And all America had to do was, watch this, put America first and not get involved, right? But we put Israel first. This is the message I want you, when this live ends tonight, I want everybody watching this live to take these 2 messages to the interwebs. All right, because we got to start playing the same game they play and speak in short sentences and keep it real concise. Number 1, we put Israel first. Take that to the interwebs. Number 2, our military is Israeli assets. The United States military is an Israeli asset. Take that shit to the interwebs too. So I don't know if we're any more a world superpower or the strongest military in the world or the beacon of hope. I think we're just Israeli assets. And if anybody can explain to me how I'm wrong there, I'm all ears.
I can't explain to you why you're wrong, and I know you're all ears, but I don't believe that you are wrong. And I think that we are in a position now where no one knows, as I've been saying, no one knows what the hell happens next. At least when there were other presidents, we would say, well, we have some idea of where we're going, at least when, they said, they pretended that there were weapons of mass destruction. I guess that they're pretending now, Jolly, that there are weapons of mass destruction. And there are at least, there's no evidence that has been presented to us that there are these nuclear weapons or assets that Iran was on the verge of being able to complete or to use against Israel.
I mean, no, we don't know where we're going next. Here's the only thing that I can say for certainty. There's 3 things that I can say without a shadow of a doubt. Number 1, the MAGA propaganda machine is going to go into fucking high gear because they're losing support. Number 2, Iran is 1,000% going to strike back. All right, it's only 6:30 in the morning in Iran right now. All right, come nightfall, 12 hours from now. By the way, 12 hours from now is 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, our time. So I got a feeling, here's my concern, Don, you and I are going to be waking up tomorrow with news of American assets being struck, or if not, then within the next 48 hours at least. And then number three, I can guarantee you that we're going to see a response from Congress. Several members of Congress, AOC, as you pointed out, Jasmine Crockett, Thomas Massey, several members of Congress have already spoken out as soon as this happened, saying this was unconstitutional. This was a unilateral decision by the president to take an act of war, which has escalated America into the Israel-Iran war without the consent of the American Congress or the American people. This is absolute.
Hey, Ronnie. Hey, EQ.
That's frightening. When you say Iraq 2.0, remember how long we were in that particular conflict there. When you say it is Iraq 2.0, that should be frightening to any of us. And by the way, you mentioned the time that it was in Tehran. It is what, 6:05?
Jay.
Is it 6:33
Victoria,
or 6:35?
Theodore.
Correct.
Yes, 35. Yep.
James. Oh, I missed him quite
a bit. So look, and these are live cameras from all over. You see Tehran there, you see Tel Aviv, you see Jerusalem, you see South Israel.
Okay, y'all, I'll be back. I need to recharge. I'll be back. What time is it?
Iran that they said,
I'll be back in about an hour. Please subscribe.
There's Haifa on the right of your screen. So you're looking at all of these live images now, and one can only guess what will happen soon. There it is, 6:06. Just turned 6:06 in Israel and also in Iran.
Like, share, subscribe, join the membership. Let me see where I'm at. Where my lights
Iran
at.
is not going to just not do anything, guys. I mean, so now, unfortunately, I live in D.C. Like,
I'll be back. Subscribe and hit the top bell so you'll get my notification. Bye.
Living in D.C., I'm thinking, shit, we're a target. I don't know.